Welcome to MINDSHOCK. This is the epic finale of the Bryant Meyers Flat Earth debate logical analysis against Flat Earth Dave, Austin Witsit, Jeranism, and Hibbler. This is one of the most fallacy-packed debates or discussions I've ever seen. Make sure you've checked out the first two parts. We're coming to the thrilling conclusion that everybody's been waiting for with bated breath, and I don't think it will disappoint. Bryant Meyers in full mental breakdown spiraling here, committing so many logical fallacies. I mean, this guy's going to be setting all kinds of world records. As always, if you enjoyed the podcast, you can donate to our PayPal, help support the podcast, help support logic and reason, and bringing it back to a world where it's quickly going extinct, as Bryant Meyers has been so clearly showing here for the past few hours in this discussion. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. You can also become a YouTube member, help support the channel that way. You can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, like and share, Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, Patreon. Questions, comments, theories, thoughts, suggestions, rebuttals, debunkings of any kind, leave them in the comment section. So let's jump right in here.
That's the specular reflection impossible on a globe, by the way.
Okay. Well, no, actually, that's just basically a reflection on a shiny surface.
Yeah.
If you got a shiny
it can't be
surface,
convex or concave. You can't get a specular reflection that way.
I know, but you will agree that this I can show you the original footage from this video, and then the thing is bobbing up and down.
I was talking about your wallpaper.
What?
Your wallpaper debunks the globe. You can't have specular reflections on a body of water with any convexity or concavity. It has to be flat. So.
Oh, the specular reflection. I did a whole video on that. That's actually you can disprove that with like a little. It's because you got to not use a shiny surface. If you got like a rough piece of aluminum foil over a basketball, you can see the shine. The light comes all the way to your eyes. Where if you have just a shiny surface, then you get what looks like a hot spot.
No. I'm saying on your wallpaper. Okay, like if you have a body of water and you have mountains and you can see the mountains in the water with a perfect specular reflection. That's impossible if the water is concave or convex at all. Like it has to be flat.
I don't think that's
okay. Well,
I don't think that's anything. That's his rebuttal. Although wouldn't that depend on the size of the water, right? I mean, again, I don't. Yes, maybe the globe is a lot bigger than has been purported, but what would the size of the mountain would have to be so huge? If the water would have to be. The space of the water that the reflection is falling on, it would have to be incredibly large on a sphere. So, I mean, Witsit is correct on a small scale, but if the globe was big enough, that section, and again, I haven't done the math on this, but so I'm not claiming anything is true or untrue, unlike the goofs like Bryant, but let's continue.
Well, that's a fact, but it's all right.
It's a fact. Go check it out. Go get a reflective piece of plastic or a mirror thing and bend it a little bit, and it changes. It doesn't.
Do the same.
You haven't done this because then you would agree with us.
No,
right?
I've seen.
What are you talking about? You haven't done that.
That it's not a flat surface. If you get that same experiment with like a basketball and put like aluminum foil that's got ripples in it, like the water, you will see the light come all the way to your eyes. It doesn't just stop at a spot.
Do you want to bet money right now that you can get a specular reflection on a curved body of water?
Hold on, let me just bring up my video. I can see.
Please.
I think we need to remember though we are standing on the shoulders of giants like Bob the Science Guy and McToon.
Oh,
it's not Bob the Science. I'm just saying, debunking some of those. I've gone through them, and it's pretty clear that like Mount Shasta.
Yeah, it's crazy. The CIA is crushing. It wasn't even.
It was even shown to be not even Mount Shasta.
I hope
aren't these same guys pushing another agenda? Just saying.
Yeah, for sure. And so Dave's quick with it. You see Dave's picture, right? You understand what we're talking about? I was just letting you know that you might want to change your wallpaper. It debunks the globe. I was just trying to help you out.
It doesn't debunk the globe.
All right, bro.
Let me see.
You see how pretty that picture is Dave has? That's a perfect specular reflection, man. That water can't be bending, or you wouldn't get that perfect reflection.
Here's the thing, though. The size of the water, though, like I don't know the size of that mountain range. I mean, is that small? If it's small and that piece of water is relatively small, like lakes are basically completely flat unless you go to super gigantic lakes that would conform to the curvature of the Earth, if there is any, if the Earth is a globe. I am not alleging it is or it is not. But on a small scale, wouldn't the water be relatively perfectly flat? Again, I would have to know that I don't know the size of that mountain range or the size of the water. So on a small enough scale, the water wouldn't be curving. Now, if you want to go to like Lake Baikal or some of these super gigantic lakes, I mean, is that what that photo is of? Maybe it is, and then maybe that's why Witsit is saying that. I don't know.
Like that mirror effect. That's.
So, I mean, are you talking about like this here? Hold on.
Hello, this is Bryant Meyers.
Your channel name is Debunking Flat Earth.
No. I'm talking about. Is this what you mean by just being seen like on one spot here versus like?
Well, that is a local reflection, which is interesting, but just a specular reflection of a reflective mirrored image. So that's not quite what that is. But yeah, I mean, even the local reflection is interesting. I don't see.
So what is your answer on the picture on the right there?
Yeah, how's that work?
I'm just saying you can get like a little ball and put like the. I mean, the point is that water's not perfectly. You see that it comes through like this.
What?
Well, the point is that it wouldn't be a local reflection like that if it was 93 million miles away.
It's just light. It doesn't matter how far. Light is light coming in at that angle.
It would be 90 degrees spread across the whole sky.
No, it's coming in from this is your angle of vision. You're looking right at it. So it doesn't just hit a spot and not come all the way to your eyes because the water surface is not, it's got some texture to it. So when you add some texture, you can get the light to come all the way and not just to.
Okay, we're talking about specular reflections, and that's interesting in my opinion. I think that's a local reflection, which is impossible if the sun's 93 million miles away. But that's a different thing. Specular reflection's a mirrored reflection.
I mean, they really got to talk to Bryant like he has some kind of mental disability because he's not grasping any of these basic points. It's kind of sad, actually.
And I was just not even trying to debate about it. I was just letting you know your wallpaper debunked the globe. So I don't know what you were about to bring up.
I don't see that at all. But.
All right, well. Oh well, specular reflection. Well, dude, you can come hang out with us though, man. Flat Earth is way cooler, bro.
It'll take. We don't expect you to change your teams tonight. It'll take you a month or two, and then you'll have a couple of restless. No, never, because I know because it would call into.
Well, listen, electrostatic theory. I know electrostatics very well. I know
Clearly, he doesn't.
It's really electric forces that hold our world together.
What?
Very well. And it doesn't work to describe 9.8 meters per second squared.
So you've spent literally zero time on it, and you say it doesn't work?
Oh, I'm saying that you can provably show the electric field falls off a lot faster than 9.8 should be falling off.
So you're not understanding it yet, but maybe we can talk again later.
It's not we're not saying it pulls things through the Earth. We're not saying it pulls anything to the Earth.
Show me.
Yeah, we're not saying it pulls things.
You know why you want a model so bad, Bryant? The reason you want a model so bad is because you were handed one as a little kid and you hold on to it. Where's your model?
Something that can make.
Why do you need a model? We're giving you facts and science here and experiments. And you're like, where's your model?
Jaron, read the Jaron, read the George Ellis quote.
You've got nothing that makes a prediction anywhere.
George Ellis or Hubble?
All the ancients with their perfect predictions. Eclipses, building actual pyramids that have shadows in perfect alignment with perfectly predicted eclipses. Yeah.
And only NASA could do that.
You mean the one that says
we're going to see Canada
can't predict anything
miles away if the Earth's flat? That's my
prediction. You guys think that you don't need a model to make actual predictions to be science? You think you can just make stuff up and it be?
No one's making anything up. Observations and common sense.
Look, here's what we thought. We thought that when
scientific method.
Don't you understand? Wait, hold on, Brian.
Hold on, let Jaron talk.
Brian, don't you know that if
electrostatics is made up? What? What?
It's really electric forces that hold our world together.
If it was a deception, that look at what a great job they did by convincing you guys all that we have a model and everything works perfect, then anybody else who comes along down the road who says, I think that maybe it's wrong, you're going to, well, where's your model? How does everything in the universe work? Well, I don't know. I'm just saying that these things are wrong. Well, if you don't have everything known, if you don't know everything, then you can't be right. That's what your position.
The electrostatic theory is provably wrong.
It's really electric forces that hold our world together.
Aren't even understanding what it means. We don't
understand electrostatics very
Okay, time out. Do you think that we think that electrostatics is pulling things to the ground?
You think it's density buoyancy plus electrostatics somehow.
Yeah, something sets the down, but then
right
density and buoyancy works out.
You keep you keep straw manning us like we're saying it's pulling it down, but we're not saying that. We're saying it sets the up and down. There is an up and down set with the electric gradient on Earth.
I can put a balloon on my wall. It doesn't set any up and down.
Well, Brian, listen, okay. Hear me out, okay? If you take the balloon and rub it on your head, right? It'll stick to the wall. Eventually, it'll fall back down. When the balloon falls down, you're claiming it's because gravity pulls it to the Earth. The problem is that balloon that falls to the Earth, it's still electrostatic. It didn't all of a sudden stop being electrostatic.
It lost its charge. Electrostatic means it has a surplus of charge. It's probably neutral by the time it hits the ground. Now, you're trying to say at the atomic level there's electrons. Well, guess what? Those electrons are tied up in chemical bonds, and overall, the object is electrically neutral.
It still has potential. It still has potential. And I'm not claiming electrons.
It provably doesn't have potential. It provably doesn't.
It doesn't have electrostatic potential?
When it's neutral. No. I mean, if I rub it on my head, it's going to. No. Yes.
Oh, so it does have potential then.
Does Brian not understand what the word potential means? Does Brian not understand anything? I mean, he's just in the complete mental meltdown mode where he's just not able to grasp anything, and he has to resort to his sermon mode where he just expects, because he's taught this stuff, he expects everybody to just take it on blind faith, and he's getting highly triggered when they don't, when they actually demand scientific evidence adhering to the laws of logic and reason.
When you transfer electrons from, you know what that means? You transfer.
I know electrons is pseudoscience, but yeah, I understand it. See, okay, if you believe in particle physics, you believe that electrostatics is...
Physics. This is just simple. I mean, this is like 18th century.
Oh, yeah.
You believe that it's virtual photons? Okay, I'm just saying that they claim in quantum mechanics and virtual particle physics.
It doesn't matter if it's or photons.
Dude, I'm just trying to let you know, man. Okay, everything's intrinsically electrostatic. It's actually dielectric field. There's only charge and discharge. That's electrical field theory. It was thrown out because they said the Earth was a spinning ball. That's a whole bunch of stuff. You'd have to open your mind to hear the truth, man.
We can measure.
And notice how Brian keeps interrupting, because it's not about, he's not even allowing Witsit to get his point out. That's how triggered he is. I mean, it really doesn't even seem to be about proving any theory to Brian. It's just shielding his ego, because he can't handle any kind of dissent to his religion, or that he could be wrong in any way because he was duped by it.
I can't do it for you, man.
Measure what?
You can go up to the top of Mount Everest and measure how long it takes your ball to hit the ground. Calculate 9.8 or 9.7.
But you've never done that. You're just going to say everybody else. Yeah.
And that was predicted before Newton. That was predicted before Newton.
It's the inverse square law from gravity. The electric
was predicted before Newton.
The electric field on the Earth drops off a lot quicker than that. It can't
I'm going to cite it for you in the chat that was predicted and explained before Newton on a flat Earth model. On a flat Earth, it was explained why you would get downward acceleration consistently long before Newton. So just so you know.
It wasn't on a flat Earth. No, it was.
Yes, it was. I'll show you the model.
I'm telling you that they use the.
He just defaults to, I'm telling you. Like, he's the priest. Only he can talk to God, so you have to take his word for it. I'm telling you is Brian's argument. I mean, look at his face. I mean, this guy's mentally gone.
You guys like to quote that NASA study of non-rotating flat Earth by what's his name?
It's not a NASA study. It's what NASA claims they test their stuff over as non-rotating Earth. What do you mean? It's in all their documents. You're saying that they don't say that?
They have it in, I'll tell you what it is. They have that in quotes because it's an approximation.
No, they don't have that in quotes. Yes, you are literally lying to your audience.
Whatever it is, it's an approximation.
Stop lying. We don't lie to you, so don't lie, Bryant.
I'm not lying.
Don't lie, Bryant. That's all. Please don't lie. It's not in quotes, Bryant. It's not in quotes. It's multiple documents. NASA, the military. Why are they saying this?
The military has ballistics manuals that talk about the Coriolis.
Dude, I have a ballistic missile right here I can drop in the chat that says that it's a flat, non-rotating surface. A ballistic missile's document.
Documentation. You love your documents so much. Might as well show them a few.
And if it's a deception, we shouldn't be surprised if they throw it in some manuals, but nobody ever uses it.
The Earth rotates so slowly.
Maybe we can talk to him about that. Can we talk to him about that? You think the Earth is spinning?
Non-rotating.
Okay, let's talk about this.
Not slow rotating.
Can I show you what the edge?
You said earlier that the air is connected to the Earth. Coriolis claims the opposite, right? Coriolis claims that you have to have an accelerative and an inertial frame, inertial systems, and then that you see a difference, right? So then how is it that you're now claiming a singular system where the air moves in lockstep with the Earth at the same time as it being disconnected from?
You can talk about relative velocity. There's nothing wrong with that. But the thing is, the atmosphere and the Earth do move together overall. Now, again, we're looking at the overall large scale. I'm not talking about local storm systems are going. I'm talking about at the global level, the atmosphere is moving with the rotating Earth.
Because it has to.
No, but Coriolis claims the opposite of that. It claims that there's an inertial and accelerative system, right? And that's how you get Coriolis effects.
The Coriolis force it's actually imparted by the rotating Earth. So when you go north from the equator, you shoot a ballistics north, it's going to get deflected to the right because the initial velocity has it's got a higher velocity at the equator.
So why doesn't the air do that? Why doesn't the air?
That's what we're saying. So why isn't the air? It's saying it's detached with the air. That's the whole point.
No, it's not the air. It's like it's all moving together, but it's that the air is a little faster up there than it is when you fire it away.
How does the air outrun the spin of the Earth at 40,000 feet?
You're using that again. I already showed you that diagram that the atmosphere doesn't go.
He showed a diagram, therefore the diagram must be correct. You don't need any actual evidence, you just put your blind faith in the diagram. I mean, this is really sad, but Coriolis is something, actually, I'm not sure I went over that extensively on the other logical analyses or podcasts, so I guess they're going to go into it now. Let's see what they're going to make of it. I'm actually following Bryant a little bit here. The problem is when you're trying to explain everything. So if the atmosphere is attached to the Earth, then a plane going one way, west to east instead of east to west, would be going much, much faster. And then if the air is going with the spin of the Earth, then the whole north to south runway situation with planes going in all these different directions, that starts to be an issue. So I would like to hear what Brian's take on that is. I mean, with a lot of this stuff, it's kind of like a neither here nor there because, again, there's so many different variables. It wouldn't necessarily prove anything either way, but let's see what Brian said.
No, it's outrunning ground speed by 150 miles an hour or more.
Yeah, you go north.
So the Earth is spinning to the east.
But where do you get that number? Where do you get that number? I done the calculation.
There's wind charts that show it, and they admit it. FAA uses it, but it's out.
Which means it probably is faster
the spin
than
of the Earth.
That's not true. The spin of the Earth. I did the calculations. When you actually look at how
you did the
hold on a second.
Hold on.
You said that
you can do the calculations based on the fact that
what's the number?
Atmosphere.
You said the atmosphere is spinning with the Earth.
If it's only 12 miles an hour faster at the Kármán line than it is at the surface.
That's not what he's asking you. That's not what he's saying.
What's the mechanism that makes it go faster? What's the mechanism that makes it go faster?
Gravity is the gravitational column is holding it. Witsit, come on.
That doesn't work. Gravity doesn't work.
I'll tell you why. Because at that level, there's very little particles. You got to.
So here's the question I have.
Anything
you said it's spinning and it's only 12 miles an hour faster. Great. How come that molecule that's at the Kármán line that's going 12 miles an hour faster in the spin just to keep up with it? How come it's going an additional 100 to 150 miles an hour faster than that, outrunning the spin of the Earth?
Well, that doesn't make sense.
You're right. It doesn't make sense because the Earth isn't spinning. The Earth is flat.
The jet streams. The jet streams. How do the planes?
Can you pull up the jet stream?
But ask him. Okay, listen. Hold on, Brian. Brian, you just said earlier. Brian, you said earlier that planes go faster one direction than the other. Why is that? Why do they go faster one direction than the other?
That was based on wind currents.
Okay, so hold on. That's what he's saying. That the wind currents that blow to the east.
Listen, I know that there's I'm not talking about local weather. I'm talking about the global atmosphere as a whole.
Okay, but there's winds inside the global atmosphere that are moving faster than the Earth spins.
Right here. Here it is. These are these white and pink ones. I think are 150, 200 miles an hour, and they're outrunning the spin of the Earth. They're going east. Can you see?
Yeah, but where do those forces come from? You guys don't.
What do you mean? Where do the forces come from?
It doesn't matter.
We need a model. We need a model.
That's a flat Earth, though, model.
Where's your model?
No, that's flat Earth. I thought you said there is no flat Earth model.
You're right. This is a flat Earth model, but on the globe, they're heading east. Right? Yes. It's the same thing. They're heading east. They're outrunning the spin of the Earth. You have
Does it
no
actually make
explanation
sense
for
on a
that.
flat Earth?
We're just showing you a real version.
Yeah, we're showing you
of what's going
reality
on.
where it
Yeah,
actually
reality.
makes
You're not-
sense.
You
Yeah.
guys don't
Going in perfect circles.
Okay, hold on. I just want to say you said that we
you
spin
guys
very
don't
you said we spin very slowly.
Okay, let's go over this. 'cause
I just
guys
want to
do
show
not
you
under-
this is what 1,000 miles is going to 1,000 miles per hour looks like.
Okay, let's talk about that.
Hold
now,
on.
'cause
Okay,
this
so
is-
just saying that it spins slowly. Well, this is 50 miles per hour, and then I'm going to multiply
I
it by.
know that, but
Okay,
it's
hold
not-
on. Here's 1,000-mile-per-hour edge velocity. Tell me how the atmosphere. Wait till it gets to 1,000, and tell me how the atmosphere is sticking to the Earth like this. Ready? It's
No,
about
listen,
to. Hold on. You're not even listening. When it goes 1,000 miles per hour, you're
I
saying.
know this.
You know
You've
what?
never seen this.
You know what? What do you know? That
Something
the
he's
Earth-
never seen. He already knows, Jaron.
Okay, I guess so. So here it
Yeah,
goes.
he
Now
already
this is
knows.
1,000
It's
miles
all
per
right,
hour.
man. Just chill,
Look at,
bro. We're
look
gonna
at,
be your friend.
Brian,
Like,
look
you
at-
can hang out with us.
Look
We
at
can
that.
take it,
That's
bro.
the edge
It's okay.
velocity.
I understand. Okay, but let me just talk about why those speeds are not what you guys think they are.
What do you mean? 1,000 miles per hour is 1,000 miles per hour. That's the edge
well,
velocity.
no, it's not. Rotation is measured in radians per second.
Of
not
course
in
it
miles
is.
per hour.
But you can.
Okay.
But can you
It's
not
going in a
figure out the
curve.
edge
Let me ask you
velocity?
Let me ask you this: is your engine measured in miles per? No, it's RPMs. That's revolutions per minute.
Okay, so we can do. You
Yeah.
can. So
Let's just go through this. So Dave loves to pull this helical.
So this would be a red herring logical fallacy, and also an he's mixing in etymological logical fallacy as well, because regardless of how you measure it or how many spins, the answer you're looking for is fast. So he's the one claiming that the atmosphere is going with the Earth. Now, in addition to that, there's of course other factors like wind and all these other atmospheric factors. So again, this doesn't really prove anything either way, but you can see the religious fervor on his face when he's trying to defend this. And again, I'm postulating it's all to protect his ego, and he actually doesn't even really care about the shape of the Earth. It's just that his ego is connected to it.
Model of the universe or of the solar system up. But
Yeah,
do
it's
you
a
know,
joke.
Dave, that this is 1,000,000 times faster than the real thing?
yes, it's a.
This is not anywhere near.
It's a visualization to show the different
but
vectors.
That's what happens.
It's misleading though because it's going way too fast.
Doesn't
No,
matter.
that doesn't
It
matter.
It actually doesn't matter a lot.
Well, it's
No.
misleading because it's actually not going 1,000 miles per hour. It's only a little tiny representation.
let's
So
just
the
go-
actual thing is way worse.
Let's just go through. So
And-
first of all,
You know, and when you
The Earth
when you
does
point this
not
out,
spin.
though, when you point this
you
out, it
guys
actually
love to say
disproves
that
it
the Earth doesn't. You guys love to say the Earth spins at 1,040 miles.
because
per
it
hour,
does.
No, no.
Yeah.
We don't love to say that. That's what they
it
taught
doesn't.
us.
No,
Yes.
it
That's what they
doesn't.
taught you.
It spins at 0.006.
What is the circumference of the Earth?
What's the
What's the
difference in that and
circumference?
1,037 miles per
It's
hour at the
because-
equator?
It's because it has to do with forces. You know, inertial.
It sounds smarter.
It doesn't sound smart.
It makes it sound less significant.
yes.
Listen, you
Brian, if you were on a
Oh,
merry-go-round that's 20,
Oh.
that's the size of the Earth, the width, the
I've
equator,
heard-
and you're sitting at the outside horse, it's going 1,000 miles an hour, and it's going off of your trajectory at
I know, but that's not
a
the-
mile a minute, okay,
that's
or
not the
more.
same- It's not the same thing.
It's the exact same thing.
It is
How
not
fast
exactly
is that? A
the same.
train, Bryant? How fast is that train going?
This train is going 300 kilometers an hour.
And what would
What?
happen if it slowed down or sped up or
Well, yeah,
turned?
well, then
And what
it's
if you
gonna-
took the
yeah,
roof off of it?
Then you're actually getting an acceleration. See, I'm talking about
Brian, but this isn't a
velocity.
curved trajectory.
But the
that you're-
Earth is spinning.
What are you
It's
talking?
not.
What
It's
are you-
never going in a straight line.
What kind of science experiment is this, bro?
No,
This is
listen.
a replication of anything.
No, listen, I've done the
What are you
math
doing?
on the actual forces. Okay, so when you actually, so the Earth is rotating twice as slow as the hour hand on your clock. Okay, it's a very slow rotation. When you
No,
actually
no,
do
no,
it-
no.
Well, yes, it is.
What is going on? We just pointed out to you that you had a constant
I've seen
speed on a
those-
straight path. That's not synonymous with moving in a circle. That's
we're-
acceleration.
That would be a non-congruent logical fallacy, non-congruent argument by Bryant, trying to compare or parallel something that's not comparable, not even close.
Trajectory.
Rim
Where's the curved
velocity.
That's
It's
where's the
rim
curved
trajectory?
velocity.
With the train.
Tangential speed. Okay.
Listen, you're bringing up all the points from these known
All that-
liars.
Yeah,
but
you
this,
just
this,
don't
this whole
agree.
thing,
I
twice
can-
the speed.
you
It's
can
not
tell
twice.
me- Can I
Listen,
just talk about
listen.
this?
Hold on.
Or-
Let me say
I
one
wanna
thing, and then you can go
explain to
on.
you what
I'm
you
gonna
feel.
say one thing. It's angular velocity, and here's a simple experiment
Yes.
you can do if you want to do an
It's
experiment.
not
Go
angular
outside.
velocity.
I'm going to
It's
tell
not
you it's
angular
angular.
velocity.
He doesn't
No,
like
it's not.
experiments. He
Listen,
likes memes.
Here's an experiment, and I encourage everyone to do it. Get a string, tie it onto a
Angular
weight,
velocity, Dave.
right? And start spinning it around. Start spinning around and let out line and get it to the point where it may be 20 feet of line out there. And you'll see that it'll be pulling out. It won't touch the ground, and you just spin around, and you'll be going around at at a good pace, and then get another. Hold on, then get another string that's only a foot long, and hold it right with your hand. That string, that one will barely go out. Right, it's going around at the same angular speed, right? But its rim velocity is so slow that it doesn't even swing out. The other one is pulling my arms as I spin around. Okay, but the one right here that's hanging, it just hangs. It doesn't even. It barely swings out. That's rim velocity.
Let me just explain to you. But we don't feel velocity, Dave. We feel force. Let me just explain this to you. So,
notice how he completely dodged everything David Weiss just said, completely ignored it, and then goes back into his religious sermon.
We actually have a very slow angle. This is our angular velocity. This is angular velocity, not this, guys. This is angular velocity. Angular velocity is radians per second, not miles per hour. So when you actually calculate the actual centrifugal force.
And how did he determine the radius? Because I think some flat earthers, Witsit usually ask this as well. So is this a circular reasoning logical fallacy? Because he's presupposing through his blind faith that the radius is what is claimed to be. Now he's building all this math and equation off that presupposition on blind faith with religious fervor. So he's spending all this lifetime of work going off a religious faith-based claim. What happened to the science? What happened to the science here?
You end up with 0.03 centrifugal acceleration, and this is a very small force.
But Brian, you're just reciting numbers and beliefs. Go outside and spin.
Brian,
let me finish. Spin a rock on a string. The farther out it goes, the harder it pulls at the same rate. Okay, the farther out it goes, and so why should I believe that if I double the distance, it's making a huge circle now. Why would it pull less? It pulls more and more and more and more.
Brian,
you can calculate all you want, but you can in real life, the farther out it goes, the faster its rim speed is, and the more power it has.
On a rotating system, but I'm telling you.
Yeah, well, you're living on a rotating system, and it's a curved trajectory.
You're going by the tangential speed, Dave.
Yeah.
The tangential speed, we don't feel.
You accelerate.
Yes, we do. Curving is acceleration.
No, and I'm showing you the actual forces of acceleration.
Okay, let me ask you though, the equations that you're using. Hold on, centripetal and centrifugal. Can you tell me the equations for each one?
Yeah, it's omega squared r. So
but what about the other one? But what about the other one?
What do you mean, what other one?
I said centripetal and centrifugal. What is the equation for each?
Well, they're just in opposite directions.
Oh, so the equations are equal. They're the same equation.
Equal and opposite.
Same equation.
Do you have proof the Earth is spinning? Can I get some proof?
Because that seems weird that the two equations are the same. So the equation for being thrown out from a circle and throwing in from a circle are both the same?
It's just like outward force.
No, the angular velocity is this angular speed that a rotating body is going, and it's measured in radians per second, not miles per hour. The tangential.
Okay,
speed,
so let's drop miles per hour.
We don't feel constant speed. That's why.
But wait, hold on a second. You're going in a straight line at 1,000 miles an hour, 100 miles an hour. It doesn't make a difference. You're not going to feel it. Your quarter will balance. Your water will sit. Hang on. But if you take the slightest turn, now the Earth is curving. At no point are you going in a straight line. You are curving. That is acceleration. Okay.
You want to see how fast the Earth is rotating?
No. I know how fast it's going. 1,024 miles per hour. I'm not. Hold on.
0.0694 RPMs, Dave. That's how angular speed is measured.
But no, it's again. Get the rope with the rock on it, and you feel it.
We don't feel the tangential speed. We feel the acceleration.
How about this? I disagree to disagree with you.
Yeah, and also you always feel acceleration. Any rotation is always accelerating, and we have an elliptical orbit. We would feel the big of it. But dude, here's the question. Brian, here's a question, man.
What if we're in a plane
spinning? I asked you that because I know for a fact everything you're about to bring up is not going to prove the Earth is spinning.
Okay. Well, what about this then?
So you want to skip your whole first page? You agree? You got nothing.
Because you already got your arguments for the ring laser gyroscope because Bob has brought up so many.
No. But hey, I want to tell you something. Let me tell you something. So according to Einstein in relativity, okay, if the sky was moving around the Earth, you would experience centrifugal and Coriolis effects if with the Earth as the rest absolute frame of reference because of a thing called the Machian principle. And Einstein himself integrated this into relativity for the Arthur Eddington experiment where they saw the eclipse with the star behind it. And he wrote a letter to him explaining that that would be the case. So according to relativity, which is your current theory for gravity, you just talked about how it was so awesome earlier, remember? Yeah. None of that stuff you just showed on your page would prove that the Earth is spinning. According to relativity, it would be that the sky is moving around the Earth.
That's not true. So he doesn't understand relativity? He doesn't understand frame of reference. I mean, look at his face. I mean, I think he does understand, and that's why he has that look on his face, and he's having the mental breakdown, because he does understand that it wouldn't prove anything.
It is true. I have no letter right here.
Let's go through which one of them it is. So let's see. There's Airy's theorem. I mean,
Airy's failure, which showed that the Earth is stationary.
Michelson-Morley, so which
showed that the Earth is stationary. Sagnac effect shows that the Earth is stationary.
It's called Airy's failure for a reason. I mean,
yeah, it's a failure on the science's point to prove what they wanted to prove. That's why it's a failure. Not.
Yeah,
do you understand
the opposite every experiment?
You guys are trying to say that the ether is still a thing. Where
it is.
What do you mean?
Yeah, even quantum mechanics says it is. By the way.
You put so much of your beliefs in other men. It's so scary.
Yeah, quantum mechanics is saying quantum fluid.
Brian, life is so much better when you know it's
fluctuations are not ether. If you want to call quantum fluctuations ether, you're just rebranding quantum fluctuations.
What's quantum fluid?
So it's interesting. He goes to this mental gymnastics move of rebranding. The truth is whatever it is, not reverse engineering or making post-dictions, as Witsit accurately called Bryant and scientism cultists out for. So just pretending it's a rebranding instead of the actual truth and actually arguing in good faith with logic and reason at the forefront, adhering to the scientific method. Bryant wants no part of actual real science. Bryant wants no part of actual logical discussion. He's made that perfectly clear.
Bryant?
What, like superfluids?
What's quantum fluid? No, not like superfluids. No. So you don't know. Okay. What is dark matter?
I admitted earlier that dark matter and dark energy, we don't, just because we don't have answers to everything.
It's ether, buddy. Dude, everything they're talking about is
show me a paper that proves
why
that.
Does that
the desperation. Show me the religious scroll. Show me which gospel. Because he can't think for himself. He doesn't have a functioning brain that he needs a paper.
Have to be a paper.
Why a paper?
Brian, do you understand?
Go look outside, Brian.
Show me anything that proves.
And there's actually a ton of papers on dark matter. So, yeah, calling dark matter and dark energies, if that really is ether, because obviously relativity doesn't work, special relativity doesn't work. Check out the MindShock podcast on relativity debunked, clearly debunked, by the amazing Run Z Cow, and others as well. I mentioned others as well. And since Brian is so obsessed with math, he should check out Oleg D. Jeffomenko, who completely decimates relativity with pure math, although it is very, very dense, so not really recommended unless you're an actual mathematician. But, yeah, this is really, really tough here. Because, again, you have Nikola Tesla, his hundreds of patents all working flawlessly with ether. And then you have relativity with 0 patents, and just these reification logical fallacies hallucinating they're actually using the principles of relativity when they are not.
Brian, I'll give you 5 quantum physicists saying we have to reintroduce the ether. 5 of them. Yeah, like I have them right here, PDFs.
They
5 of them.
Don't have very much published research.
Because that's what dictates.
Well, how much published research was there on relativity before relativity? And yet, Brian still takes it on faith. There's just constant appeals to authority, appeals to popularity. Bryant has brought nothing but faith and fallacy to the table. And again, preserving his own ego. That seems to be his top priority in this complete mental breakdown.
That man there wants a win so badly today. It means so much to him. He is so carried away with the prospect of winning, the idea, that he forgot something that's absolutely essential to today's proceedings. He forgot his case. He forgot to bring it. I don't know. I don't see it. Do you? Not one piece of substantiating evidence.
That's what dictates.
Brian.
I know, Brian. This is why they have peer review. This is why there's peer review. Peer review protects your guys' science from ever being questioned by anybody else. That's why.
No,
that's why. Because
It
guess
shows
what?
that you can validate something that.
Sorry, no.
that's
Scientists
not
don't.
one-
No
it's
scientist
not
ever
one
wants their
person.
theories told that they're wrong.
Otherwise, it's just one person making a claim, and then there's no validation.
Well, let's
of
talk about
course.
Michelson-Morley. Okay,
Mhm.
do you know what happened? Okay, so they had a prediction with the Earth moving through the ether. So then they shot the interferometry. They got 1/6 of what was predicted, less than 1/6 of the orbital motion around the sun assumed, right, of 30 kilometers a second. So they had an option, which two options, which either throw out the ether or throw out that the Earth was
No,
rotating,
that was within
revolving.
that was
Wait,
within the experimental error. No, that was-
I'm almost
I've
done.
seen
I don't
that.
want to take up a lot of time. I'm just trying to do fast. Okay.
That's
So then they went and did the Michelson-Gale-Pearson, where they also used interferometry to look at the rotation, right? And it matched the predictions within 98% of the sidereal rotation. Every time it can be done 1,000,000 times. It works every time. What that proves is that the interferometry does detect the motion if it's there. It's detecting the motion of the Earth, the sky around the Earth, right, in the sidereal rotation, and it does not detect an orbital motion
At all.
Those two combined debunk the fact that the Earth is spinning. And so it's just been hidden. And the Sagnac effect is what's used for gyroscopes, and Sagnac said it was a vortex in the ether. So there you go.
But Sagnac, I
What
know
Austin
Sagnac-
said.
I know what Sagnac said,
Facts.
but
Mic drop right there. I mean, there's really nothing more to be said because everybody, again, I'm not claiming that the Earth is or isn't moving, is or isn't a globe, but to all the goofs that are hallucinating that the experiment proves the motion of the Earth, they're ignoring all these other factors and variables, which Bryant does have the mental capacity to mention these other variables because he has mentioned it a few times. He just completely ignores it when it points out the flaws in his religion.
they found they discovered the effect after that. So he was wrong when he said what he initially said.
Well, you're just saying that, but are you going to address the Michelson-Morley combined with the
The
Michelson-Gale-Pearson?
Michelson-Morley experiment there was a allowed tolerance for error, and that was within the allowed tolerance.
Also, keep in mind the detection of gravitational waves, and also, who's this magical arbiter of allowances? Because if the margin for error, this has nothing to do with this, just in general, the margin for error could always be greater than they think it is. I mean, putting all this blind faith in fallible humans and fallible human technology, that's always an issue. But in scientism, people hallucinate it's not.
So what do you mean?
No,
So they
you're
still
not
didn't detect
understanding
it?
that it
Showed
didn't
that they
detect the
showed that-
motion of the orbit, but using the same methodology, it detects the sidereal rotation within 98%
They got
accuracy.
1,200 miles per hour.
Which means that it does
Well, send
detect
me-
the
well,
motion
send
of
it
the
to me.
sky around the
Well,
Earth.
send it to me.
Send
I'll
you
look
what?
at
It's
it.
the Michelson-Morley experiment. Go
I
look
gotta
at
look
it.
at it.
Pull the papers.
Yeah.
I'll look at it. Yeah,
It's
that
a
does-
paper. You love it. It's actually paper.
I mean, the thing is, though, if you're
I'll
looking
look
for a
at it again.
paper to be,
I'll take a look at
imagine,
it again.
Brian, imagine that you
That's a
started
good
to,
answer. Good answer.
imagine
Brian.
you started
I'll
to
take
agree
it.
with us and you wrote a paper and you turned it into a publication. Do you think they would publish that paper? Or do you think that they would trash your name until you weren't able to show your face again? Which one do you think's true? Because you're telling us we need to go
because
submit a
latter.
paper.
The latter.
That's just conspiratorial.
Oh, boy.
What? Are you
Good
thinking
luck,
if I
dude.
posted
Good
a
luck.
paper saying the Earth's flat? And
It is conspiratorial fact. That's the way the world works, protecting status quo. I mean, Brian is he exposing himself as a coincidence theorist goof after pretending to agree with David Weiss on other conspiracies? I mean, it really does seem like, yeah, Brian's just in it to soothe his ego. I mean, that's really what all this is. He's made that perfectly clear every step of the way.
ether exists, that
Wow.
they're going to peer review it and be like, prop this guy up for a Nobel Prize.
And it means
You know
everybody
something
that you're
like
giving that paper to is all going to be signing away their entire research, their entire careers is garbage. Yeah, they'll just sign right off. Oh yeah, let's publish this.
That's
That'll
not a
happen.
conspiracy
But
theory. That's a fact.
But just the stuff that you say with the electric field, I mean, I know that that's wrong.
Notice that there is a clear parallel with gravity. Newton's law of gravity, that the force, which in that case is always attracting, gravity never repels, is the product of two masses. And then you have here the gravitational constant, and again you have the distance square. So there is an enormous parallel between the two. It's a great beauty that electricity acts in a way that is very parallel to the way that gravity works. If you compare electricity with gravity, you will see that electric forces are way more powerful than gravitational forces. If now I compare the electric force with the gravitational force, so I divide one by the other, notice that d cancels. They both have d squared downstairs. And so you will easily be able to show that this ratio is roughly 10 to the 36. So the electric force is 36 orders of magnitude more potent than the gravitational attraction. This teaches you some respect, perhaps, for 802. If these were the only forces that acted on the protons, and you bring them in the nucleus, which has a size of only 10 to the minus 12 centimeters, then the acceleration that the proton will experience is the electric force divided by the mass of the proton, F equals ma, basis of 801. And if you take this electric force, when you make d 10 to the minus 12 centimeters, which is 10 to the minus 14 meters, and you calculate this ratio, you will find that it is 26 orders of magnitude higher than the gravitational acceleration on Earth. 26 orders of magnitude higher. So you wonder what the hell holds the nucleus together? If there is such a tremendous force on these protons. Well, what is holding them together are the nuclear forces, which we do not fully understand, but thank goodness the nuclear forces are not part of 802, so I'll leave that alone for now. So what holds our world together? Well, on the nuclear scale, 10 to the minus 12 centimeters, very important are the nuclear forces. On an atomic scale, up to thousands of kilometers, it's really electric forces that hold our world together.
So he's immediately going to that instead. Like their actual point was about whether it would or wouldn't get published. Now he's of course sidetracking and red herring and straw man. I mean, just this constant stack of fallacies instead of addressing the actual point.
It's really electric forces that hold our world together.
You still don't get it, though.
You just don't get it. You know it's wrong because you don't get it.
It's really electric forces that hold our world together.
I do get it.
It's really electric forces that hold our world together.
You guys don't understand Maxwell's equations at all. You just don't.
It's really electric forces that hold our world together.
Oh my
What do you
gosh!
say,
Now you're
bro?
bringing up Maxwell's
Bro.
equations.
That's what defines electrostatics, my friend. I mean,
Brian, is there other
next
topics
topic,
you want to
Brian. Yeah,
any
next
more you want to
topic.
cover? Because
Wait,
Can
can
we
I?
do Antarctica before we go? Can we please do
Yeah.
Antarctica?
You just
Please,
Wait,
Brian.
can we talk about the?
I can't.
How about the
I can't-
equinox? The equinox
Wait.
and the 90 degrees. Let's talk about that so we can at least get that out of the way.
Well, it's just going to be. You already have your answer, even though I don't.
Well, because
We
the
have our
answers-
answer
the
because we've
answers
been
in-
Spot on psychological projection. Brian already has his answer from the religion, so he's not going to be open about anything. At least the flat earthers are actually allowing him to speak and give his sermon. Notice how triggered Brian is. He's interrupted countless times. I mean, even just 3 or 4 seconds into a point, where the flat earthers have given him literally like 10 minutes at a time to speak.
studying this forever.
I know, well, you come up with.
No, there's no coming. Let me explain this to me.
We're going to show you
Let me
stuff
show you something.
and stuff that you've never seen, and
'Cause
then maybe you can think.
Just
have
try
new
not to
ideas.
say no before.
Yeah,
it's
just
over.
listen for a
Yeah.
second. Just follow me and see why this is. So you're saying that at night at the equinox.
Yeah, wait, hold on, Jared. Put
Oh,
it on
sorry.
the big screen. So
It is on the
you
big
can
screen.
unshare. Oh, is it? Is it?
I don't
Oh,
know
there
if
you are. All right, never mind. Sorry, my bad.
Okay, so north and south. If somebody is north of you, and are you south of them? Yes, right.
Okay, yeah.
What about east and west? Are they the same as north and south? So if somebody's east of me, I'm west of them.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so what if I showed you that that's not the case at all? If we took somebody who's north and south, yes. If we draw this guy and we go south at.
I'm actually kind of surprised. I have to give Bryant props there. He was actually able, for the first time in hours, to actually give a yes or no answer.
180 degrees right there. Then if we drew this line back up, let me save this. And we drew this line back up. Now it's going to be exactly north. Okay, this guy is going to be exactly at 0 degrees, right? Okay, great.
So what he's showing is the guy at south is south of the guy north, and the guy north is north of the guy south.
But
Just like you would expect.
east-west, if I were to draw a line and say, okay, I'm here in California, and I'm going to go 90 degrees east over here
You
to the east
can't use a
coast.
straight line there. That's a great circle. You're using a straight line.
No, I'm not. I'm using
We're using Google. We're
Google Earth
going
draws it.
exactly 90 degrees east.
That is a great circle. Okay, so 90 degrees.
Yeah.
See that? So I'm going to hit save on that one. We've got 90 degrees. So now, is this guy going to be 270 to this guy? because when I draw it from here and I go 270, 270 is down here. Okay. So what that tells you is that north and south are consistent. You're always north and south, but east and west vary, right? So now if you start drawing lines, let me see this. Okay. So
I'm just not following all what you're trying to do.
I know, because
they didn't
it's
teach
not
you
what
this.
you believe.
It's not what they taught you.
Not about what I
Watch
believe.
again. The guy, what he's saying is the guy, if somebody is 90 degrees east of somebody, the other guy is not 270 degrees west.
Right.
It's completely different because the globe is not real.
Yeah, you're watching it. You're seeing it on a false
I know,
model.
but-
We're
So look
showing
at-
it. Their model doesn't work.
I know, but I can't just. I don't know.
So here's the thing. This guy,
I don't see.
if this
Show
guy's
him
looking
again.
east,
Just listen, watch again. Jaron's good at explaining this.
well, if this guy's looking east, 90 degrees east is here. Okay. Move out of the way, box. 92, 90.
90 degrees east. I don't know what.
90 degrees is dead east.
Yes. See how it
Okay,
says
but
90?
90. Okay, it's just east.
So when you're looking
East.
east, yes,
Okay.
90 degrees is east.
So I'm going to save that one. So now you'll kind of notice something weird as we keep drawing lines of everybody looking 90 degrees. They're all looking at the equator. 90 degrees here is here. Nope, 91, 90. Okay. So now if I keep going with these lines and I go down to the south, every line I draw is going to be pointing at the equator. So if we spin the globe this way, and now we look at what everybody's doing, when it's the equinox, everybody is looking at the equator. So it shouldn't be a shock that we see the sun rise in the east for everybody, because east is everybody's looking the exact same to the exact same point, the equator.
When the sun is
You
at the
guys think-
center,
You guys think
east is all directions.
I just drew it for you.
The
He's
sun-
literally
the
showing
sun-
it.
Look at the meltdown on Bryant's face. Now, my problem with all this, of course, is that you don't have those verified. I mean, has anybody objectively verified any of the continent distances from each other in relation to each other and where they are in relation to other continents? Because everybody's kind of just taking it on blind faith. The map is the way that it is. I'm not going to go farther into that, but because let's assume, if we assume the globe is not only true, but the continent, like all of it is mapped perfectly as on this demonstration here. But you could tell Bryant's meltdown, like his face just complete meltdown.
I'm showing you.
Okay, but that's not.
Yeah, because you think east is this way.
No, listen. You send it to me and I'll play with it. And I'll
No,
see
you
if
can do it on.
You send it to me. Instead of addressing what's right in front of his face, he has to go to you send it to me. I can do it, but I'll do it later. I mean, he really sounds like a 4-year-old. Like, I can do whatever I claim. I'm not going to do it right now and prove it. I'm going to do it later, not now.
Google Earth
It's
yourself.
your own
Tell me
Google
this,
Earth.
Brian.
You have
Brian.
Google Earth.
We're not doing any tricks, bro.
Brian, if I'm up here in California and I start walking east, can I walk in a straight line? And
Let me just look. Okay,
No,
just
please
hold
answer
on.
Jaron's simple
Just
question.
follow
Please,
him.
Jaron.
You
I
can
know,
Jaron,
but
please
This
ask it
might
again,
not be-
Jaron.
I'm not going to believe this unless I can look
No,
at
just
it
ask the
myself.
question again, please.
so
Jaron.
if I'm
See what Google Earth is doing, because I can't just.
okay, if
you
I'm
know,
in California and
believe
I'm
it does not look okay.
let's say I'm in California, I'm at 35 degrees north or something, and I
But
start.
can you at least give me time to play with this myself? To see if
absolutely. We're showing you
Yeah, I was
now,
just
and then
asking a
check it
question,
out.
that's
We'll,
all.
we'll have another
I'll check it out
conversation.
because I'm not gonna buy this one.
Just soak it in.
He doesn't need to buy anything. Does he not know where California is on his own model? Like, there's no need to buy anything. Just, you could see how desperate he is to shield his ego because he's unwilling to even do a simple thought experiment using his own model. You could see the mental breakdown. And also, he's just that triggered about being made to look like such an utter fool. He wants to play with it later instead of answer a question about walking in from California.
No,
I'm not
but
asking you
Just
to
a
buy
real
it.
quick,
See him
simple
doing
question.
it.
Right.
Please, Jaron.
It doesn't look right. It's
Oh, it's gonna be all right,
Google
man. They
Earth.
lied to you about the Earth, brother. It's all
I'm
good.
just-
It's
I
not
just-
that big of a deal.
Do you think if you went east from here that we would come back to where we started?
But you're drawing. That's a straight line across.
simple
the
question.
I'm not
surface.
asking. To pay,
no,
pay
no
no
lines,
attention to lines.
east.
Here's
Go
the
straight
lines.
east.
Lines are gone. There you go. There are no lines.
Again, on a curved surface, you got to follow a great circle to go. I mean, it's not the same as a straight line.
Okay, now I'm not talking about a straight line. I'm saying if I so okay,
No more
so,
lines.
So you're
Right.
saying if I am going to start in California and end up in California, I have to do a circle.
No, I'm just saying that you have to follow a great. You know what a great circle is?
Yes.
Yeah, circles are on flat Earths too, by the way. But he's trying to
They
make a
exist.
point to you.
I
Which
know, but
circle of
that's
the
how you
Earth?
draw a line on a spherical object. Is if you want to find the shortest distance, it's along a great circle.
Okay, no more lines though. If you just go east,
Ugh.
will you get back to where you started from?
I was just asking
if
if
you
we
just
go,
head east.
if we go east, if I go 90 degrees east from California, do I come back to where I started?
I mean, you're using this map, but I mean, yes.
It's not a map, it's the globe.
It's
Okay,
Google
listen.
Earth. It's the globe, bro.
If you go
What a goof.
down a street that's east-west, a really long street, you're going to go down that street and come back to your same location. I don't care,
What?
If it's east-west. If you have an
What did you
east-west
just
street,
say?
I don't understand.
Say it
you're
again,
trying
please.
you're trying to tell me that if I go east and come back west, that I'm going to end up in a different location here?
Yes.
No, I'm asking you
Well,
if you go east.
Not
and
here. Let
keep
me tell you
going
why
east-
the answer is no. Is because on a flat Earth, which is where you live, by the way, your compass always adjusts to the north. So yes, you would come back to where you started.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is the wandering north, by the way, which the flat Earth doesn't seem to have an answer for.
Oh yeah, we don't have an
We're
answer.
not
So
allowed
therefore,
to
it's
go to the
false. Yeah. So I mean, if you don't know, Austin, if you don't know about the wandering North Pole, then the Earth can't be flat.
It's illegal to fly within 500 miles of each direction of the North, man. Wait, just address Jaren's point, though, bro.
But it's
just
just
think about
he's
it.
not
If
listening.
you
It's
go
just
if you go east and come back west, you're going to end up in the same spot.
no. Okay, I'm
No,
talking
if
about.
you go
showing
east, if
you
you
the
go east,
globe.
look,
So I'm saying if I'm in California and
I
I'm
know
going to
what
go.
he's trying to show me, but I'm saying I'm not going to buy it until I can look at it and see, because
Okay,
it
then what am I
doesn't
sh-
make any sense what you're showing.
so look.
What am I showing you?
So Bryant just here desperately grasping at the appeal to incredulity. It doesn't make sense, even though it's the exact globe that he believes in on Google Earth. And he's just this triggered that he refuses to address what's right in front of him. He has to pretend he has to look at it later in order to understand it. Now, here's the real question here, though. He's saying it doesn't make sense, but does it actually make sense, which is why he's just sputtering and spinning out of control in this mental breakdown, because he knows it makes him look like a clueless goof who's never even looked at any of these arguments. Because at the beginning, he was pretending like he was well-versed in the flat Earth argument. I mean, clearly he's not. I mean, he just looked up some anti-flat Earth memes and just, was preaching this sermon this whole time. Now, for the first time, I mean, there's only been a couple times where the flat Earthers are actually showing him something, because he usually just spends all the time interrupting every second. But what's the real question here? Does he actually understand the point? And that's why he's so terrified of addressing it here in the middle of his mental breakdown, so he has to pretend he has to look at it later because he doesn't have the mental capacity to understand what's right in front of his face. I mean, I get it. This is sad or funny, depending on how you look at it.
I'm showing you the globe. It doesn't make any sense. You're exactly
It
right.
doesn't make sense.
This is a particular thing I haven't been able to look at and see if
He hasn't been able to look at the globe. He hasn't been able to look at any physical globe in his hands, or he's never dealt with Google Earth. So this supposed intellectual, this supposed physicist, scientist, whatever you want to call him, the professor who's taught this stuff, which he reiterates every second whenever he gets obliterated. I've taught this. He's never looked at a globe before? Like, what does he not understand how utterly clueless he's looking right now?
there's some.
But I'm asking
Never
you
looked
your
at Google
general
Earth.
knowledge. You're a physicist, so I'm
I'll
asking
look
you.
at it.
Okay, let's
just
pretend
move on.
pretend I'm a
Let's move
student.
on.
Pretend I'm a
Let's move
student.
on.
Like a little 4-year-old. Let's move on. No. He's plugging his ears with his fingers. Let's move on. Refusing to address the very thing he's here to discuss. So if anybody wasn't clear by now on whether or not Bryant was here for an honest conversation with any kind of integrity or pursuit of actual scientific or logical discussion of any kind, I mean, if it wasn't settled already, I mean, it seems to be settled here. Let's move on. Whenever he gets his feet held to the fire or even asked to perform a simple thought experiment just to see if whatever he's preaching makes actual sense, or just to see whatever the flat earthers are preaching, to see whether that makes sense, he won't even do it. At least they indulged him. At least they had the modicum of integrity and honesty to let him speak and actually attempt to answer all of his questions. I mean, are there any questions that the flat earthers flat out ignored or didn't address? Because I don't remember any. Maybe I missed some. But are there any questions the flat earthers plug their ears and say, let's talk about it later, I don't want to do it. I can do it, but I won't. Every time it came down to time to do any kind of actually doing equations, any kind of actual proof that would be provided for something, anything, maybe not, but the possibility that proof could be provided here to prove either model untrue, or at least to point out further issues, he wants no part of it. I mean, that should really tell you how unscientific Bryant Meyers is. I mean, he's obviously currently the logical fallacies champion. He's also in the running for Dunning-Kruger champion, psychological projection champion. I mean, this guy is breaking all sorts of records here.
Pretend I'm a student. Hold on.
Move on.
I'm just a student. I'm a student. I'm trying to learn. I'm not saying anything.
Well, let us show you.
So again, with these, oh man, I can't believe, you don't need to believe anything. I mean, what is Brian smoking? This is why it's so difficult. It's difficult to assess here whether he has a true mental disability, whether he's actually mentally disabled and he's just this idiot savant at math equations. If that's the case, let's give it to him. Let's assume all his unicorn calculations were correct and he's really good at them. So is he just that mentally disabled that he can't even comprehend single point, or is he now resorting to playing stupid, plugging his ears, refusing to engage in any kind of logical, scientific discussion of any kind here? Let's move on. I mean, this is the most embarrassing, absolutely embarrassing result thus far. I mean, this is just insanity. He hasn't had a chance to look at a globe. I mean, what the flat earthers should have done here is forget the globe on the screen. They should just ask Bryant, is he aware of where the continents are on the globe that he's claiming to be true? Where the states, is he familiar with all of the states of the United States? Because they're asking about California, other states. Does he know all 50 states? If he does, there's no reason to even look at the screen. Just think about it in your head. But he's plugging his ears and say, let's move on, let's move on, let's move on, like a little 4-year-old. I mean, this is so embarrassing for Bryant Meyers. I mean, it's moved firmly into the territory of just plain sad instead of hilarious.
So you know what to look at later.
If a student asked you, hey, teacher, if I'm in California and I go east, can I walk straight east and stay 90 degrees the whole way and come back to where I started? Is that a straight line or is it a circle? If I'm in California, is this person walking a circle?
If you're California, do you have to keep turning to the left or do you go straight?
Again, this is spherical geometry, so you can't talk about a straight line exactly on a sphere. It doesn't work.
Again, with these constant straw mans, he's talking about walking, regardless of whether it's perfectly straight or not, relative to where you started, where you end up, to the actual purported locations of the states and the continent. Notice he can't answer any question. He always goes into this sputtering BS mode just to shield his ego. He's just trying to clearly this is just extreme narcissism here. So he's trying to just spin and sputter and appear to not be a complete and utter moron to shield the ego. It's not actually about the truth. It's not actually about anything scientific. Because if it were, he would be able to answer simply. And again, if he's this utterly clueless about physics and even just basic common sense in just understanding where states are and where continents are, he's clearly the wrong person for this discussion, because if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough, as one of the scientism priests that Bryant worships, Albert Einstein, allegedly said.
You understand what he's saying?
Okay, but what about the equator? So the equator's not a straight line?
Stop saying lines.
Is the equator a straight line? You said there's no straight line on the globe. What about the equator? If I walk on the equator, isn't that a straight line?
I kind of see what you're getting at, and if I look at it and play with it, I'm sure I'll be able to figure out what's going on.
So this supposed physics professor can't answer whether walking along the equator is walking straight. He has to play around with a software program to understand whether or not the equator would be walking straight. Oh man, this is literally the most embarrassing flat earth debate I've ever seen. I mean, I wasn't sure at the beginning. I was willing to give Bryant a chance. He seemed to have decent enough credentials. He seemed to be a nice enough guy who wasn't going to be intellectually dishonest. But now we see his true colors. We see these levels of narcissism possibly never seen before in any flat earth debate, or at least one that didn't involve just ad hom spamming. I mean, obviously, Bryant's got triggered a few times and he had to resort to ad homs, but nowhere near the level as the typical globe earther arguing in these types of debates. So the hopes were high for Bryant, but what a massive disappointment. What a complete and utter goof Bryant turned out to be. If a student asked him a question, is this the kind of teacher you would want your kids to have? He can't even answer a simple question about the equator on a globe without going on Google Earth and playing with it. What the hell is this guy talking about?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
It doesn't make any sense. But bro, it's gonna be okay. They lied about the Earth, but bro, it's not that big of a deal. It's really not. Like it just you start to figure out stuff makes sense. You can trust your senses. You know what I mean? And overall, it's a good thing because all of a sudden you can start to understand where you really live. Maybe put together proper physics and stuff like that. It's not a big deal, bro.
Proper physics, and you're trying to tell me proper physics with electric field that I can prove can't be the 9.8 meters per second. I mean, easily prove.
He can easily prove it, and yet he didn't. He's been having a mental breakdown for hours on end talking about how he can prove it while not proving it and plugging his ears and wanting to talk about everything later or resorting to, I've taught this, without actually explaining what he taught in a logical or scientific sense. Only appeals to faith and fallacy. I mean, how can anybody not feel bad for Bryant here? I mean, I don't understand how anybody could hate on Bryant. I mean, this poor guy had a complete and utter mental breakdown here. I mean, this poor guy, not a modicum of logic or reason present in that head. Not even a little bit. I mean, he's got nothing.
That man there wants a win so badly today. It means so much to him. He is so carried away with the prospect of winning, the idea, that he forgot something that's absolutely essential to today's proceedings. He forgot his case. He forgot to bring it. I don't know. I don't see it. Do you? Not one piece of substantiating evidence.
He brought absolutely nothing to the table, but he's this much of a narcissist that he thinks he can prove stuff, but he won't actually do it. Just like the 4-year-old. I can do that. I won't, but I can. I mean, this guy's literally on a 4-year-old. I don't want to insult 4-year-olds. Maybe there's smarter 4-year-olds out there, but I mean, this guy seems to be on a 4-year-old maturity level when it comes to discussing this. I mean, this is very, very sad.
Particle physics and quantum mechanics can't explain magnetism, electrostatics, or electricity. So that you need to acknowledge that. No, you call them virtual photons, which don't exist. I'm just trying to help you out, man. Like,
he's pretending he knows all of this. Really, notice how it's almost like he's trying to convince himself to not look stupid. Oh, I know this stuff. I know this stuff, while not actually explaining or making any scientific points. I mean, this is just so sad now. I just feel really bad for Bryant. I mean, how could anybody not?
You can measure the forces
of virtual photons.
No, the forces between charged particles and charged objects.
What about virtual photons?
That's what they use to try to explain the force, but it doesn't take away from the fact that we can empirically use Coulomb's law, which is what
that's electrostatics. Welcome to flat Earth, my man.
I'm saying exactly. We use Coulomb's law to disprove that things can't fall 9.8 meters per second squared.
Disproves gravity.
It absolutely does.
No, it doesn't.
You can't use electrostatics to explain gravity.
I'd be down to talk to you.
I mean, this guy's just so triggered. I think the reason he's so triggered about the electrostatic argument is he knows that it's valid. Now, regardless of what's true or untrue, again, let's take out of the equation the shape of the Earth and all these things. Even if mass does attract mass, that still, again, does not invalidate the empirically verifiable electric charges and electric forces. He's pretending that they invalidate this other force, gravity, without actually showing how. So all he can do is ad nauseum, repeat. Oh, I can prove it. I did the calculations. I've taught this without actually proving anything, but he doesn't have even a modicum of logic or reason to be able to assess his own mental deficiency. Therefore, this is why his Dunning-Kruger is off the charts, and this is why I constantly advocate for studying psychology in addition to logic and reason and the scientific method, because the psychological component here is what you can use. You can actually see on Bryant's face here, it betrays him. Micro expressions, the triggering, his psychology, his subconscious has betrayed and exposed him completely here. Utterly and completely. And this is why he's so triggered and he keeps going back to the electrostatic argument. He could be triggered about everything. He could be going on about any of the other points made, but notice how he keeps coming back to the electromagnetic or electrostatic arguments because he knows they're valid and he's so triggered about that he's trying to convince himself that it can't be true. And you can see the desperation on his face, because why would he be this desperate and triggered over these goofball flat earthers, these young guys who he clearly thinks he's smarter than? Why would he be this triggered about them bringing up the electromagnetic or electrostatic forces if he didn't know that that is in fact valid to some level, regardless of the shape of the Earth? That's why he's this triggered, having a mental breakdown, and he keeps coming back to the electromagnetic, electrostatic arguments. They didn't even bring them up, and he's already getting triggered. He keeps coming back to them of his own volition. He keeps bringing them up because that's how triggered he is. That's how much his subconscious is betraying him here.
About it. I'm just trying to talk to you about the macro. Now we've talked to you about a bunch of stuff. I'm trying to talk to you. I'm trying to level with you, bro. Pun intended.
You guys have no answer for why things fall 9.8.
My dude, it's okay. They lied to you about the Earth, but it's not a big deal, bro.
So they've given the answer a million times, and he's just going flat out denial mode. How there's no answer. I mean, I've put up all these papers on the screen, and these supposedly commonly accepted in the world. Like this is the thing though. Bryant is clueless about what the actual what the physicists are not disputing. I mean, all these papers I constantly put on the screen, it's like Bryant isn't even on a basic understanding of the model he's defending, because he doesn't even know about all the measurements of these forces, and that gravity isn't even purported to be 100% uniform. But he's pretending it is, and using that hallucination and the pretending of it to try to disprove all of this that's triggering him. I mean, this level of narcissism and goofery, I don't know if we've seen this in flat earth debate thus far. I mean, Bryant really is a leader in many things, logical fallacies and otherwise.
It's not a big deal. Like, the government did all kinds of crazy operations, went and looked at Antarctica, came back, said, you're not allowed to go there, founded NASA, and then they've been lying to you, bro, and they've been showing you cartoons.
Let's just go through that.
It's all right, bro. I'm just saying, like...
Let's do the Antarctica.
Brian, I just want one other question, though. So why is it when we listen to Feynman and these other guys that they say if something doesn't match experiment, then it's wrong, right? If a theory doesn't match experiment or observation, then it's wrong. You got to throw it away. So why?
I'm telling you, some of the other stuff I can look at, but electrostatics is definitely
okay. So I'm not talking about that anymore. So explain to me though why then.
So his argument is, I'm telling you, like the sheer desperation. Because if he was a man of science, he wouldn't be preaching and expecting people to take it on blind faith in what he's telling. He would allow his arguments to speak for themselves instead of just saying, oh, this is provable. Oh, this is provable. I can prove this without actually doing it. Notice how he actually hasn't proved a single point. Not a single point that he proved.
Not one piece of substantiating evidence.
He just pretended to prove it using faith or fallacy and then reiterated, oh, I prove it. I can prove it. And some of it he wouldn't even prove. He refused to even do the calculations when the flat earthers called him on it. He refused to even calculate. He refused to even answer basic questions about walking along the equator. I mean, this should tell you everything you need to know about Bryant. This is utterly embarrassing.
When they looked out at the galaxies and saw that gravity wasn't working, then instead of throwing away the theory as they're supposed to do, they added something that we've never observed and said it must be there.
No, that's not how science works. You don't throw away a theory. You find if it doesn't work, you either can refine it, like I told you, general relativity.
So is refining gravity adding dark matter and dark energy?
Again, just because we don't know it, you guys have the same problem.
He keeps going to tu quo qui. Whenever he gets called out on his religious BS, he's like, oh, you guys do that. As if, again, hasty generalization, logical fallacy, false dichotomy, logical fallacy, as well as many other logical fallacies, because different flat earthers do different things. Obviously, not all of them do that. But you could just look at the sheer desperation on his face. I mean, this guy, his meltdown is in full swing. It's like he's trying to convince himself to preserve his own sanity. Because obviously it's easier to fool someone than convince them they've been fooled. Like, his ego is so stratospheric. His level of narcissism is so extreme. He can't handle himself being wrong about anything or him being hoodwinked, that he has to pretend and hallucinate to justify all of this blind faith and corrupt fallible of humans that have been proven demonstrably false, of course, but his ego won't allow him to confront any of that information running contrary to his indoctrination at indoctrination facilities, which he didn't even really do that good of a job, because he's utterly clueless about all of this electromagnetic argumentation. I mean, again, Walter Lewin, I mean, this guy's got over 450 scientific papers.
It's really electric forces that hold our world together.
I mean, this guy is one of the de facto accepted in his realm. I'm not claiming Lewin is correct about anything. But Bryant is the one claiming that some kind of consensus, or what's currently established and accepted in mainstream science, actually scientism, but he doesn't even know that. That's the point here. Bryant is utterly clueless about his own position. I mean, that's what makes this so utterly embarrassing for Bryant. He doesn't even have all the points he doesn't even understand the points he's trying to argue, and is utterly clueless about everything the flat earthers are bringing up, which is in his own model.
It's really electric forces that hold our world together.
In his own religious belief system, and he doesn't even understand it. It's like some kind of Christian arguing passages of the Bible that they got wrong. He's not even arguing correctly for his side, let alone talk about who's right or wrong about anything. He doesn't even understand his own side's positions. I mean, that's what makes this so utterly embarrassing for Bryant.
It's really electric forces that hold our world together.
Whatever magic disc.
We've never added anything.
There's no disc. What disc are you
there's
talking
no void.
about, bro?
I'm sorry, whatever you want to call it.
You keep
There's
showing
no
this
void.
disc in space. You know we don't believe that we're a disc in space,
Where are
right?
you then? Where are you then?
Earth.
Dave, can you pull up the pond?
We're like the
give him a
basement.
freaking vision. That's
I've
it.
seen the
Because this
pond.
guy thinks we're a disc in space. I wasted
But the
4
pond-
hours if he
but
thinks
the
that.
pond is just
My
a
goodness.
huge.
Come on, man.
What is
No,
it?
it looks like a
It's not-
fluid-like medium. If you want speculation station, it looks like there's a fluid-like medium, super fluid behavior, which will give you perpetual electromagnetic energy without any type
It's
of
not
impedance.
electromagnetic energy.
Chronoluminescence would give you the stars.
Well,
It looks like we are in
well,
electromagnetic
I got
vortex
something
of the
for you.
ether. If you wanted the real gravy,
Dude,
bro, I could give
well,
you the
listen,
gravy,
listen.
bro.
No, he
I'm
wants
just
what's in
trying
the
to say,
physics
yeah,
book.
yeah.
Austin, what's in the
If
physics book
If
only?
you drop a magnet in an electric field, it will drop at a different rate than something that's not
I know.
magnetic.
All right,
That works
so
on a flat
look,
Earth
look,
really
look
well.
at
Not
Dave, look at
9.8
Dave's screen.
meters per second squared. You're going to have different velocities for different materials. That doesn't work with electrostatics. With
Bryant.
gravity, it works just fine.
Or does it? Again, does he not even understand his own, the model that he's preaching? He doesn't even understand it. Because it's not even purported to be 100% uniform, and he's pretending and hallucinating as he's strawman. I mean, the stack of fallacies here, he's stacked it higher than anybody else. I mean, this is crazy. Look at the fallacy counter. I mean, never would I have believed that any goof, any kind of goof would even be able to stack this many fallacies. I mean, Bryant is very talented with his Dunning-Kruger stylings and his appeals to faith and fallacy. I mean, there's no science to be found on the side of Bryant, but there is faith and fallacy.
Bryant, look at Dave's screen real quick, and I don't know, just so you get rid of this disc thing.
Well,
We live in the
This is-
Antarctic basin. Antarctica is the
You
highest
guys-
land on Earth. It's a container of our pond.
It's
That's
not
it.
the highest place on Earth.
It is the highest land on Earth. What are you talking
What do you
about,
mean, Mount
man?
Everest?
Do you
Mount
just say
Everest-
stuff
No.
out loud?
Not that it's to the
What are you
highest
talking
point.
about?
Not the highest point,
Not
but
the
its
highest point.
land plateau
Landmass.
is higher than all the
It's
others.
not- those are not. You do realize that the Antarctica doesn't have an ice shelf. Those are just ice shelves, by the way. There's ice shelves in Greenland, ice shelves in.
Great, but not the ones that we're showing you that are in Antarctica. Those aren't in Greenland.
Those walls you show. I've seen your pictures of the ice wall. They're just an ice shelf.
That's in Antarctica.
It's the shoreline of our pond,
It's
period.
not the
That's
whole-
it.
If you go all the way around Antarctica, it's not
It's
always the shelf.
60,000 miles.
The amount of strawmans this goof just had to pull out of nowhere. I mean, it's crazy. There's no reason for it either. Like, he can make his point without stacking all these strawmen. Like, it's just insane. I mean, this guy really is arguing like a 4-year-old. No, and like literally every point no, without even understanding the point that they're making. And it's really hard to tell, does he actually understand the points they're making, and that's why he's this triggered and having a mental breakdown? Or is he just this much of an utter goof behaving like an immature 4-year-old? I mean, that's the question at this point. I don't know the answer to that, but let's continue this train wreck. It's hard not to feel bad for this poor guy.
Captain Cook did it.
Yeah,
Brian,
sometimes
why
they're
don't you
shores.
research Captain Cook?
There's places where there's no ice shelf that you can go into Antarctica without an ice
Have
shelf.
you ever researched Captain Cook, Brian? Do you know what he did?
Well, there's a lot of people.
He
that-
navigated around the Earth and went 60,000
What about
miles.
all
Excuse
these-
me, hold on. Let me finish one sentence. He went 60,000 miles around the Earth. No way to get in. Can you explain that on your 24,000 mile circumference
One
ball?
And 13,000 mile around Antarctica.
I can tell you many expeditions to Antarctica that I have on my image, but I'm not on the screen right now. But
You need to share your screen.
this is one.
Hit click share.
Approved guided tours where you can only go where the government tells you to go is really not
Right.
going to in any
I know,
way.
but that's-
be a
And
rebuttal to
one of the
capitalism.
ones you're going to show us, Brian, is this woman. She went here, and then
People
she
go
said
to-
she went here to the South Pole, and then she went here, and then she went back there, and they call that crossing the South Pole.
Oh,
No,
wow.
she just went to here and turned around and went back. And by the way, this is like 1,000 miles or 2,000 miles. This is huge. 3,000 miles. I doubt she actually did it.
Same thing
but
with
if she did,
ZQ
it's right
pilot,
here.
right? The guy who has the guy who has the record for flying around the South Pole, the circumnavigation.
Look at my image. People go to the South Pole all the time, and you can book a.
Yeah, but see, you don't understand what.
How would you know if that's truly the South Pole, though? Because of course, there's the marked South Pole, which is not it's not even claimed to be the real South Pole. So again, this goof's just taking all this on faith. I mean, yeah, this is really tough to get through, I have to say. I mean, I've just got to the point where I just feel so sorry for this poor guy, utterly humiliating himself, not even being on a 4-year-old level. It's just tough. It's tough to keep going, but I will do it for the MindShock listeners. They wanted this. They're going to get it.
You're seeing there. Go back to that image. Go back to that image.
It's one image.
Go back to that image. Go back.
We're trying to help you.
Go back. So this spot that's
look at the lines drawn on the right.
Yeah, you're calling the South Pole. It's right here. This is it. Okay, they've wrapped it around. Now there's no images of the south of Antarctica in the center. Yes, there are bases along here. Okay, but there's no images of the center because they brought it all together and it's fake.
Okay, but still, how does light wrap around? I mean, we know there's 20.
Dude, I can show you right here. I'm going to show you a lifetime demonstration, okay? You want to know? It's called the coffee cup caustic. Are you ready? Look at this. Look at this. You see how the light is lighting up all the way around it? You see that?
But that's not how our world works.
Oh, it's a coffee cup caustic, buddy.
That's your experiment.
You said it couldn't happen. I just did it for you.
But that's literally your experiment.
But he just showed you that it could happen.
It's possible to literally have a 24-hour sunlight.
Toy, and you're trying to show that this.
That's what a globe is.
Dude, you just said it was impossible. I just showed that you can effortlessly do it with a container. It's called a coffee cup
caustic. It's impossible on
caustic.
the actual Earth, not using refractive index plastics that can. Again, we don't live in plastic. We live in atmosphere.
Bryant, globes are not for educational purposes. You do agree with that, right?
But everything.
No. Yes or no? Do you agree with that statement? Globes are not for educational purposes. Period.
What do you mean they're not for education?
They're not. No. That statement exactly. They're not for education.
I don't agree. I don't agree with that.
Go to the store, buy a globe, and look at the bottom of it. It says not for educational purposes. It says
they have to
legally.
purposes. They have to. It's bullshit.
Well, it's not. There's always. So you guys try to take things like that, like the non-rotating. I mean, that's just an approximation.
Right? Can you admit that when
he keeps hallucinating that it's approximation, but it didn't say it was an approximation. That's his religious hallucination to justify his blind faith. And look at his face again. He's so triggered. The meltdown is so complete. There's no logical reason that's going to get through that skull, even if there's something capable there. I don't know if there is. He might have some kind of mental disability. I am not arguing that he's capable of understanding. Possibly he is. Maybe he is. But in this triggered state where he's like a triggered little 4-year-old, nothing's going to get through. He's made that perfectly clear. All he's doing is pretending to have proved stuff without actually proving anything and just preaching religion. Very, very embarrassing here.
NASA said that, bro.
When you said that it's
in their studies as an approximation. They didn't mean that.
They didn't say the word approximate anything. You're making up words.
In those same documents, they talk about the spherical Earth.
No, they don't.
No, they don't.
You made that up.
You're literally making stuff up. Okay.
I'm not making stuff up.
Brian, I'll drop you. I'll send you like 50 documents I have, but even ballistic missiles, electromagnetic propagation for flat Earth for ground weapon systems.
Documents for ballistic
Dude, they used electromagnetic weapons.
Austin, let him show it. Can we see it?
Okay, yeah.
We see
electromagnetic propagation, just so you know, bro. You would think you would enjoy this stuff if you were study electromagnetism.
Yeah.
He has never studied it, obviously.
I have.
They taught it.
No, I can do experiments. That's the nice thing about science. So
Yeah. All magnetism has inertial planes.
Okay, so
remember the scientific method too, Brian. Don't forget the scientific method.
Field artillery manual canyon gunnery. They talk about the rotation of the Earth. Throughout the whole document, they're talking about the rotation of the Earth.
Yeah, we've seen this alleged Coriolis. What's the spin of the bullet exiting the muzzle?
Well, now you're going to say that's what it is. There's also.
Well, I'm asking you, what is it? Which one's stronger?
Well, if it was the muzzle, then why in the southern hemisphere does it go?
Notice how he can't answer the question. Like, he does this whole time. He's just there to shield his ego, because he's that much of a narcissist. Like, I don't even think he cares what shape of the Earth is. He's just here. He's like a 4-year-old, needs to shield that ego, can't handle anything, plugs his ears. We'll talk about it later. We'll do it later. I'll check it out later. And then just constantly spewing and regurgitating these unrelated points, these constant red herrings and straw man, instead of just blatantly answering the basic question.
Like, you know, the whole thing.
So why have we talked to shooters who say they've never used that
ever?
The
English Navy, actually, when they attacked Germany in the southern hemisphere.
Oh my God, he's repeating the Neil deGrasse Tyson story that's been debunked a million times over.
Oh my God.
I'll show you. I'll give you article after article. That's a joke. That's a whole joke, dude. That's not even a real story. Think about what you're saying, that they're launching cannonballs and missing, and they just kept doing it, and they never thought. That's not how army work. If you shoot a cannonball and you miss a boat, you aim to the right until you hit it.
You account for wind way stronger than any of this nonsense you're talking about.
I know, but you do account for wind, but you also have to account for long-range ballistics for the Earth-Bus effect, and well, the Earth-Bus is just another component.
I have long-range ballistics saying the Earth's flat right here. They have to treat the Earth like it's flat.
I've got documents that say that the Coriolis is got to be accounted for. And
no one accounts for it. Nobody accounts for it.
No one counts for it, and
Zero
I told you
people.
even if that was hypothetically real, the sky
are
could be causing
there are a
it.
lot of studies on proving that the spin is they're spinning.
No, there's not.
Anyone can print a study, right?
I know, but this is like 14 studies. You guys don't have one study.
I literally
We've talked to snipers, and then none of them ever account for it.
Oh, wait, hold on. We got to account for the curvature.
None of them. There's one video of one sniper who's probably not even a real sniper.
It's the same video all the time.
Look at this mental breakdown. He can't handle it. He can't handle anybody committing blasphemy against his precious religion of scientism. Because here's the other thing, too. Like, it's not like the narcissism doesn't make any sense. I mean, this guy's so invested. I mean, he's wasted his whole life memorizing religious texts and religious studies. I mean, what does it say if they're wrong about something as fundamental as whether or not the Earth is moving, regardless of the shape? I mean, to be wrong about that fundamentally, I mean, his ego can't handle that. I mean, this poor guy might commit suicide if he has to confront this. I mean, nobody wants that, obviously. So the brain's defense mechanism is performing as designed here. It's performing as designed. It's shielding Bryant's fragile 4-year-old style ego. Because people who are mentally strong, they wouldn't have a mental breakdown over this. They would calmly be able to address all of this. Because they're not that emotionally invested. They don't have their life. They don't have their identity attached to the religion in question. Bryant's whole identity, his whole idea of self-worth is attached to this religious blind faith in scientism. So he can't handle anything that goes against that. So for actual snipers, I've actually talked to a sniper as well. They said they didn't account for any kind of anything other than wind. So it's kind of weird how he's this triggered when you move into the realm of empiricism and doing it yourself. It's just, he knows that that's valid. So even if the Earth is moving, that doesn't mean snipers can't operate without calculation. They could still, again, there's a certain amount of trial and error in certain situations where, you know, especially in the middle of a war where you can shoot 1,000,000 times and there's fire and explosions going on around. So it's not like you only get one chance. You can adjust for wind or whatever variables. But the fact that he's getting this triggered over it, I mean, it really exposes his level of narcissism, insecurity, and mental weakness. And it's hard not to feel sad for the poor guy.
Yeah, everyone goes on that. But
and he doesn't even make sense what he's saying. He doesn't even make sense.
No, long range snipers.
Like 2.5 miles.
Bryant, have you talked to real snipers, Bryant?
Now I will. Now that you guys got inspired. I promise you I'll find a couple.
Look at this religious faith. I promise I'll talk to God. I've never tried praying to God before, but I promise that if I do, he'll hear my prayer and respond and give me evidence of the existence of God. I mean, how goofy is this poor guy? It's like a 4-year-old being told there's no Santa Claus. He just can't handle it. He needs his toys. He can't handle it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Please.
And
Brian,
then,
if the Earth
welcome
were
to
truly,
Flat Earth.
If the Earth were truly flat and stationary, would you want to know?
I've seen interviews on you know.
Dude, Brian, if the Earth were truly flat and stationary, would you want to know?
I would want to know, but it's like I can easily prove that it's not.
So notice how he couldn't even answer yes or no. He had to pretend that he would want to know, and now desperately clutching to hallucinating the proof that he's failed to provide. We're several hours in, and he's failed to bring any kind of case. He's brought zero to the table.
Not one piece of substantiating evidence.
But like a 4-year-old just had to pretend that he actually, it's like he completely lost in whatever game, but he had to pretend that he won. And he thinks repeating that he actually proved something means that he proved it. I mean, this is the level you're dealing with, the mental deficiency of Bryant Meyers here that they're dealing with. I have to applaud the flat earthers. I mean, their patience is impressive.
Well, you would want to know.
You haven't done that yet.
Oh, yeah, I mean, to me, all these things, the sunset.
Well, watch this video back,
The
my guy.
sunset proves we're a globe. Did you not see the sunset kitchen test? That's literally replicated in real life.
The sunset.
Show me a NASA sunset that's replicated in real life. It's all composite.
Wait, what about
test proves that the perspective?
Dude, we have stuff that debunks the globe all the time. The impossible eclipse, the Selenilian eclipse.
Oh, the impossible eclipse. Actually, there is an explanation for that.
Oh,
we know you claim that the sun and the moon are just refracted up in the air, and it's not really there.
That's what's happening.
Look at his religious fervor. And that's the difference between him and at least these flat earthers. They're arguing from a position of security. They've already been on his side if they're being genuine flat earthers. Again, I'm not claiming they are. But if they are genuine flat earthers, they've been on his side, so they're well aware of all of the religious scientism regurgitations that are required in school. And then they've actually applied them to the scientific method. They don't work, or at least these particular arguments don't work. That doesn't mean that other arguments for a spinning globe don't work, but the arguments that Bryant is desperately and fallaciously clinging to, obviously those, as we've seen point by point, he's failed to prove anything in adherence with the scientific method or even basic logic and reason in any way. But look at the religious fervor. Like they have to. It has to be refracted. There can't ever be any other explanation, because then that would disrupt his blind faith in his religion. So any evidence against God, he can't process that because he's too much of a religious zealot, hopelessly indoctrinated into his cult. So he'll never accept any other explanation regardless of how valid, and he'll desperately cling to, against all logic and reason in the scientific method itself, these so-called explanations. Very, very sad to see somebody this mentally far gone.
That's what's happening.
Hey, did anyone notice?
You can do the math on that and see that that's what's happening.
Slightly, I wish I
Those Selenian eclipses have to be taken from a higher.
hang on a second. Last night, the moon came up, and I don't know if anyone in chat, if you noticed this, the sunlight was on the wrong side of the moon. The sun went down over there, the moon was up, and the other side of the moon was lit. Not just like partially. I'm talking the opposite side of the moon yesterday was lit.
Those things are always explainable. I mean, whenever I look into something like that, you can see the explanation.
The explanation has nothing to do with Earth.
Brian, by the way, when you
So, I mean, he really gave him, I mean, he's been giving himself away this whole time, but he really gave himself away there. There's always an explanation to defend his blind faith in his religion. The religion has to be true. There's always going to be a post hoc. There's always going to be a post hoc fallacy that he can desperately cling to maintain the faith. I mean, he exposed himself. I mean, clear. I mean, could he be any more clear there? I mean, there's nothing more to discuss here. He's made it perfectly clear he's not interested in any kind of logical, objective, neutral, scientific, honest discussion with integrity of any kind. I mean, he stated it so clearly. I mean, what else is there to say?
You said that you did the math, Brian. You understand what you're doing is basic remedial fallacies. We said we did the math. You get the globe model, you predict where the sun should be, you do the math on base where it really was, and you say, oh, it must have refracted this much. That's not proving something. That's ad hoc fallacy to dismiss the geometric impossibility of the Selenilian eclipse, which happens in November again, by the way. Your model gets debunked on a regular basis in the sky.
You can't explain that. I mean, I saw your attempt. But we can easily explain the Equinox.
Polarized lenses show you exactly what could happen during an eclipse. Dun dun dun.
Well, how can you guys explain a lunar eclipse? That's another big
polarized lenses.
Notice how he could completely change the subject. I mean, this is so sad. I'm having trouble here. I hope all the MindShock listeners understand the level of pain required to make it through this.
I just told you.
A polarized lens explains.
Yeah, polarization with an electromagnetic field.
No, the Earth has to be between the sun and the.
Has to be between. Has to be between.
It has to be refracted up where we don't actually see it.
And how do you cast a shadow on something 250,000 miles away? You can't take a basketball, hold it against a wall, have the shadow on it, and then move it away. 10 feet away, there's no shadow anymore. There's no sharp edge. There's nothing. Shadows don't travel like that and make that little curve. And
they only do in the heliocentric model. That's
right.
The only time something like that would happen.
This is the actual to scale. You see, a lot of those charts of the eclipses are not to scale. You have to use a multi-scale diagram because
that's a cool graphic.
By the way,
we have real videos of real life.
Brian, I'm putting
the moon above.
Brian,
why is the moon shadow? Oh, that's a solar eclipse. I'm sorry. Never mind.
Brian, I put in the chat for you
the sun and the moon above the Earth during the eclipse.
This is
not cartoon memes that beg the question. We have real life videos, Brian.
That was the sun and the moon. I saw some fake pictures of the sun and the moon on the same side.
The Selenilian eclipse has been well documented for many hundreds of years.
Can be explained, though. That can be explained.
No, he just explained to you why that's not explanation when you take the math and then make it match by saying, oh, well, then it's refracted this much so that it fits the model. That's not proof.
From a higher altitude. You got to take those pictures from a higher altitude.
No, you don't.
You can be on the ground level.
Taken at the ground. And by the way, if you claim that, Brian, if you claim that, if you claim it's refraction, you have to claim that we never see the actual sun ever. That's what you have to claim.
The selenium eclipse or the impossible eclipse now?
The Selenilian is the impossible eclipse.
So there's versions of the Selenilian that are not the impossible, actually.
The Selenilian eclipse is always impossible. You can't have the sun and moon above the Earth. There are just worse versions, more egregious versions where the shadow comes from the wrong side.
There's refraction from a sunset. You know, a sunset, you can see it further than it's the same thing that's happened with the impossible eclipse. You can explain all those shadows. But and I know this because a guy brought it up and it stumped me for a little while, but then I finally figured it out. You can explain it.
With magic. Ad hoc magic. That's all it is. You're saying
I'm still waiting for an explanation
somewhere else.
Brian, and I put in the chat for you it's from Stack Exchange. I'm talking about the fact that it's a completely made up story about the Royal Navy and the Coriolis effect and all that. It's garbage.
Okay, well, whatever. Maybe I don't know about. I'll look into that.
Okay.
Fact check.
Thank you.
I have.
Well, it's interesting. So he admitted that he didn't fact check it before. So he just took it on blind faith like he took everything else. So he's, I mean, I'm actually a little bit surprised that he's even willing to see this single point. I mean, is this kind of his own mental gymnastics of, oh, look, I concede a point, therefore everything else I said must be true?
I've seen that.
You got a lot of stuff to look into, bro.
Not just, well, so do you guys. Electromagnetism can't explain gravity.
You looked into everything you brought up.
Look how he's so triggered. He keeps going back to that. Like, there's so many points he could have went back to, but he keeps going back to the one that's most triggering because he knows it's valid. His subconscious is utterly betraying him here.
It's really electric forces that hold our world together.
Wait, you really think the electric field can explain 9.8 meters per second? Because that is so easy to debunk.
It's really electric forces that hold our world together.
Yeah, everything's intrinsically electric.
So easy. He couldn't do it. It's been hours. He still couldn't do it. He still utterly fails to even understand that gravity's not even claimed to be 100% constant. I mean, he's missing the fundamental basics of everything he's even talking about. Because if gravity is real and the world really is a spinning globe, it still doesn't work the way that he's claiming it to. But he's so utterly clueless and devoid of all logic and reason, he's not capable of understanding that.
Electrostatic, it isn't a field pulling it down. It just sets the up and down, and then density separates the rest for the 50th time.
Density is just a relative that doesn't have a vector to it.
Yeah. No, but the vector comes by the electrostatic.
Electromagnetism works in all directions. It doesn't work. I'm sorry. It doesn't go.
It's really electric forces that hold our world together.
Like I said, you can.
Do we have an electric gradient on the Earth? Yes or no?
The electric gradient, like I said, it increases a lot.
Non sequitur.
But you said it comes in every direction.
It's not a non sequitur because
it doesn't matter the strength. It doesn't matter what the strength is. It's that it sets it up and down.
It varies wildly, and gravity doesn't
matter. Doesn't matter. It's always more. It's always
more. Are you kidding me?
It's always more positive above.
It's really electric forces that hold our world together.
The Earth, everywhere on the Earth.
Even if it varies wildly across the planet, it can still account for a stable 9.8.
Wait, no, but 9.8 meters per second varies greatly across.
Right, Brian. Let me ask you a question. I know.
What?
I know you said you're. Brian, you said that the electrostatic force isn't equal all over the Earth, and you're ignoring the fact that the number of times stronger than gravity is an unfathomable number. So wait, hold on a second. Let's pretend gravity. Hold on. Let me finish. Let's pretend gravity is real. We know the electrostatic force is real. So why do things fall at 9.8 meters per second when the electrostatic field is also pulling, also doing it?
100 volts per meter where it is it's a very weak electric field.
It doesn't matter.
It's stronger than gravity.
He's missing the whole point, though.
But if the point is, your gravity falls apart because you got your gravity and the proven electrostatic field, the myth of gravity, and the proof. But why do things go down at the speed that you say?
Can I just talk? I don't want to talk to Austin anymore.
Yeah, I don't want to talk.
Well, I mean, this is truly 4-year-old. He's plugging his ears. He's covering his eyes. He's doing anything and everything to try to preserve any kind of vestige of intellectual or academic credibility, which he clearly doesn't have. I mean, this poor guy has been utterly decimated for hours on end by a bunch of young flat earthers and David Wise, who's a flat earther but not young. I mean, the utter decimation here, the level of embarrassment here, how could you not feel bad for Bryant Meyers? I mean, this is literally 4-year-old tactics, completely bereft of any kind of logic or reason, or even base level professionalism at this point.
I'm just intellectually eviscerating.
I wouldn't want to either.
You're not listening to me. I just want to talk to Dave because.
All right, go ahead.
You're not listening. He's the one constantly interrupting, where they've allowed him to speak for dozens of minutes at a time and give his sermon with all of his presentation uninterrupted for the most part. He interrupts what is the longest amount of time he's allowed anybody to speak? 7 seconds? 9 seconds? I mean, he's jumping in literally every 2 seconds on average. Every 2 seconds, and he's complaining that others aren't listening to him. They've listened to every single point he's made. They've listened to all these rambling sermons and hallucinations and appeals to faith and pointed out why they're fallacious for the most part. And yet he's been unable to do so with anything they've said. I mean, the level of goofery is so off the chart here. Look at this guy's face. I mean, this guy's mental breakdown. How do you not feel bad for this guy? I mean, his psyche is doing what it can to preserve any kind of function left. So this poor guy, I mean, obviously mentally he can't handle any of this. He can't handle the fact that his brainwashing and indoctrination is being utterly exposed, his religion being utterly exposed for what it is, an anti-science blind faith position. And he just can't handle it.
Talk to Dave.
No, you haven't proven.
I'll go on mute, bro.
The electrostatic field, Dave. Can you agree that it varies wildly across the planet with lightning strikes and the electrical activity?
But that you're not understanding. Austin tried to explain it to you a whole bunch of times. It just determines the up and down.
Doesn't
have the density. So, okay, I can agree that we completely disagree on this. I agree that you don't understand.
You had absolutely nothing with any substance. So
nothing. We have nothing.
The psychological projection. I mean, his subconscious is on point. You have to at least give Bryant's subconscious credit. I mean, it exposed him completely. He has nothing of substance, and he's brought nothing to this table for hours. Not a single point. I mean, he's bringing sponges to tank fights. Very, very sad.
Not one piece of substantiating evidence.
That's it. You know what?
You know who has all the substance though is physics. Physics books.
I know, but
they got all the substance.
The electric field is so
Bob the Science Guy, McToon.
But hey, I gotta say this. It's really funny that you have such a high standard for what I'm explaining, which is objective, and you've yet to understand. But you don't apply the same standard to the theory of relativity, which has been debunked. So it's just a hypocritical standard because you have a cognitive dissonance bias towards the globe Earth. That's objectively what we're all observing.
You understand laws and theories make accurate predictions. If they're proven to think
so what is okay? So hold on. If it makes
it doesn't take away from that. It makes accurate.
All right. So space time is predicted, right?
Again, his hallucinations that prediction equals truth. I mean, the ancients had all these predictions with flat Earth cosmology. So what? Does that mean they were correct? I mean, just this level of goofery, I really can't even laugh at this guy. I feel bad laughing at this poor guy now. It's just, I feel sad for this poor little guy. I mean, to just be this brainwashed by a cult, to be incapable of even children's level cognitive function is just very, very sad here.
space-time is predicted. So tell me, what is being bent in space-time? Because I thought space was the absence of everything, but you are saying it's bent.
This is a model. It's a math. You understand that?
Wait, so it's not reality?
So it's not real.
All theories are models that actually will give you accurate predictions about the reality.
But it doesn't. It doesn't give us accurate predictions.
It says.
Are you kidding me?
It's off by 95% on the cosmological scale, and it's off on the quantum scale.
Well, that's a different thing. I'm talking.
No, it's not a different thing. It's the same thing. It's literally the same thing.
I'm talking about astrophysics now. I'm talking about general relativity has never really been falsified.
It literally has, though.
Well, show me what's
okay. Dark matter, dark energy expansion rate,
the lack of general relativity.
What? Because you added something to make your model work, and then
relativity made a prediction. It was wrong.
Your model doesn't even come close to explaining.
Gee, we're a bunch of guys in our house. We're a bunch of guys in our houses.
Why things fall 9.8 meters per second?
Here we go.
It's not our job to prove our model. You have to prove your positive claim of the globe. And so far, there's been zero proof.
I'm saying that Newton's gravity makes accurate predictions that we can use to actually build things.
It's really electric forces that hold our world together.
Okay.
Well, the whole world around you is based on.
Yeah,
it's really electric forces that hold our world together.
Decent. Listen, it's accurate on the local scale because it's downward acceleration, which is an agreed upon average.
That is the electric field. Absolutely
can't be. Cannot be.
You're afraid to hear me lay out.
Cannot be.
Man.
Listen, you can have a magnet and a diamagnetic object, right? The magnet's going to get bent by an electric field and it's going to slow down.
Non sequitur?
It's not a non sequitur. You can't. We know that things fall at the same. I mean, come on. Electric fields don't work to describe
if I drop a magnet over top of an area, the ground that has more metal composition, does it drop faster or slower? Or exactly 9.8?
If there's no air resistance, it's all going to drop at 9.8.
That's incorrect. If I drop a magnet...
Yeah, I mean, this is sad. I mean, Bryant's not even... I mean, this is like, what, third graders or fourth graders do experiments with magnets? I forgot what year we did these experiments. This guy doesn't even know what magnetism is? Is that the problem here? Because he can't even answer this basic question about that small children understand this stuff, that magnets can attract. And based on the strength of the magnets, they can attract or repel at different rates based on the strength. I mean, this is children's level science. And Brian's not even there. I mean, man, really, really sad stuff.
Over top of
magnet. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay. So stop talking about magnets.
No, listen. That's when you draw a free body diagram. You have two forces you got to account now: the electric force, the magnetic force, and the force of gravity. There's more than just one force.
Gravity's a pseudoscientific fairy tale that needs to explain the convexity of the oceans bending around the ball.
Debate Austin. Is that why you brought him on, Dave? So you got some ace in the whole flat Earth.
Ace in the hole? Like, what does that mean? So he acknowledges his own obliteration? So did he called Austin an ace in the hole? So, like, look at his face here. Like, his narcissism couldn't handle being obliterated, so now he's attacking Dave for bringing Austin onto... Because, I mean, you have to give him credit, because at least on some level, he realizes he got completely obliterated. So he's not completely brain dead or anything. He might have a mental disability, but it's not like he's a vegetable and he's completely brain dead. Clearly, he can understand certain concepts, and clearly he understands that he's been completely obliterated by this so-called ace in the hole. Although I have to say the other guys, I mean, not so much Hibbler, but Jeranism and David obliterated him pretty well also. So, I mean, yeah, it's just so sad.
It doesn't matter. He's actually better at explaining these things than me. So
I'll disengage. I don't want you to get triggered, man. I'm just trying to help you.
Listen. We've been going round and round on this.
I could easily explain to you that the electric field can't work, but you won't listen to that.
It's really electric forces that hold our world together.
They just listened to his religious regurgitations for hours, and he's done everything except explain it while saying how he explained it, that he explained it and proved it. He did everything but actually explain and prove because his basics are wrong. He doesn't even understand what is claimed about gravity. I mean, this is just really sad.
No, you can't, because it just sets the bias. If you'll give me 15 seconds, I'll be done.
I don't want to talk to you anymore.
15 seconds.
Wow, little 4-year-old got triggered. Not even a 4-year-old boy. I mean, this is like a 4-year-old girl who just doesn't want to talk to the classmate that made her cry with the truth that she couldn't handle. I mean, it's just, yeah, I mean, this is so sad. So sad.
Listening though.
I'm not. I'm
trust me,
I'm
15
All right.
seconds,
Can we
Brian, I'll be
change to like
I understand
the
why-
stars or something,
Well,
or
wait,
you
give
know?
me
Slitting my
Dave, I got
wrists,
this.
maybe?
15 seconds, just so you
15
understand, Brian.
seconds. 15
I'll
seconds.
stop. I'll stop after 15 seconds, Brian. You gotta trust me.
I'll
okay?
mute him after 15
15
seconds.
Yeah,
seconds.
I'll mute
Go.
myself.
15.
All right,
Okay.
listen. So yeah, the electrical field changes drastically across the Earth. It's not exactly the same, but the fact it always increases at all creates the up and down, which is all that's
with
needed.
altitude.
It's over. It's all right. I'm done. I'm done.
He couldn't even wait the 15 seconds before interrupting. I mean, this level of triggering and mental breakdown, I don't know if I've ever seen something like this before. I mean, this is just all new lows for humanity itself.
Done.
It
If
does.
you heard it, you didn't
provably
hear
does.
it. I don't say.
No, look
Didn't
it
hear
up.
it.
What
The
does?
electric field
Didn't hear it.
increases with altitude. It does. I'm telling you, you just it does.
All right, bro. All right, bro.
All right.
Agree
Any
to
other?
disagree.
It's a
Agree to
fact.
disagree.
I mean,
Agree to disagree, Brian.
It's not
Brian.
about you can measure it. It decreases.
Let's bring it back
Listen.
home. Let's say our goodbyes. Let's be nice to each other and let's go our separate ways.
Listen, I want to point out one thing. No
boy.
insults were thrown, some joking around, some heated conversation. This is how globe believers and flat earth believers should have a conversation. I think Bryant, was willing to come on with all four of us. And no, Austin, well, yeah, he is my ace in the hole. He explains that stuff better than I do. That's why I had him on, because I want to give you the best answers, right? I had Sean, I had Jaron, myself. Together, I think we gave you the best arguments, because by myself, probably wouldn't have done as good of a job. So I just want to thank you for being a reasonable, reasonable, a polite guest.
I was about to call Dave on the reasonable aspect. There was no logic and reason from the side of Brian, but he caught himself there. So good on David Weiss.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So hats off to you for that.
And he wasn't even actually that polite in the second half, because once he got heavily triggered and he spiraled into his mental breakdown, he just constantly interrupted every 2 seconds. That's not really polite.
Violently disagree on this stuff, and there was a whole bunch of I got to look into that. I hope you do look into that.
I'll look at it so I can see what's going on. I just follow what's going on.
Right, and we didn't talk about NASA, because I don't know, that one would be a pretty scary. I mean, the litmus test, normally we don't really talk to people that can't look at this thing and go, this is not a spaceship.
I don't want to talk about the moon landing.
Yes, of course you don't.
Of course.
Well, no, it's just because I know.
No duct tape, Dave.
No, listen,
Get rid
I
of it.
know you guys have so many answers. I got to look into everything.
You know what? You're right. If you haven't
Oh.
looked into it, unfair. So I have one question for you.
That's
good.
One
I
question
looked
for
into a
you.
little bit.
Knowing about pressure and water and everything,
It all works.
could I put you in this and submerge you in a lake? Would you let me do that? Would you go into this thing and let me submerge you underwater? Because it is airtight, right? It has to be airtight. I mean, look at that. That tinfoil and those curtain rods.
You can do it to
and
me,
that
Dave.
paper
I'll do
mache.
it. I'll go ahead and do it. Go ahead and put me in the
I
ocean
won't do
with
it to you, Jaron.
All right. I'll be fine.
Come on. So but here's the thing. Just this alone debunks NASA, which debunks all space.
A picture doesn't debunk anything, Dave. I'm sorry.
This
The lunar
thing,
module debunks
the
moon
lunar
missions.
module.
It
This,
debunks. It makes so the Earth is flat. I mean, because of the
Yes,
because
they
of
had to
the-
fake
No, but
the
they
moon landing
certainly
to
wanted to get
reinforce
that
the globe.
view.
all right, listen. He
Yeah.
doesn't listen. We've gone 3.5 hours, 4 hours. We've gone 4 hours. He doesn't want to talk about the moon landing. I don't blame
again,
him.
I haven't spent a lot of time with it, but I've spent enough time to see some good evidence. But I'm not going to pretend. You guys have every single talking point. I know this is what the top flat earthers do. They know how to respond to everything.
Yeah, so notice how this really gives him away. So notice how he can't even be honest enough to consider the possibility that he was wrong or it was fraud. So he has to pretend and hallucinate, do all these mental gymnastics as if these are memorized talking points and couldn't possibly be the truth in any way. They're just responses or talking points. They can't actually be the truth. Look at the religious fervor in his face. He will always be unwilling to accept anything that does not align with his religion. He's made that perfectly clear, even in the way he phrased that regarding so-called top flat earthers. I mean, it's just kind of weird how he has to do all these mental gymnastics in order to continue his hallucinations and blind faith in corrupt, fallible humans and the religious cult of scientism.
Because we looked into everything. I mean,
yeah, we've been studying it. We've been looking into it for years.
Electrostatics cannot work to describe why I think.
It's really electric forces that hold our world together.
Man, this guy's really triggered about the electrostat. I mean, he just keeps going back to, look at his face. Look at this poor guy. Austin gave him a complete and utter mental breakdown, and he's still sputtering in this triggered spiral. I mean, wow. I mean, this is truly a one-of-a-kind, unique discussion. I might have to leave it at that.
Again, you don't understand. Again, you don't understand it. By saying that, you don't understand it.
No, I do understand it. I just wrote a book that was based on me spending a year restudying electricity and magnetism. I understand it very well.
It's really electric forces that hold our world together.
If you spent 10 years on it, it doesn't mean it's right.
Electric, it can't,
all right, bro.
Again, if things fell 9.8 meters per second and dropped out by 1 over r, the electric field of the Earth literally comes near zero at a certain altitude, but gravity doesn't stop there.
Brian, show me the curvature, please.
I showed you plenty of curvature.
No, you haven't.
Where? What?
Show me.
Is that when I left?
Show me the pond.
The pond?
Go look
Go to
outside.
Go outside, brother.
No,
Go
Yeah.
outside.
no.
Go on an airplane and look
No,
around.
listen. You're demanding whole Earth images. I'm demanding a whole pond image.
Excuse me. I don't make $330 billion a year to go prove these things to you. They do, and they've never proved
know,
it.
but
Because
all
if they
those
proved it, Bryant, we wouldn't be having this
I know,
conversation
but all
at
those high altitude balloons, I've been able to see easily that they're.
Right, but you can't
guys are
see that
carry-
far. You
you
can't
guys are
see
carrying- you guys are-
forever.
He also doesn't make whole Earth claims, right?
I thought it was
So it's
3
different.
miles we could see. So how far are you talking here?
Right.
You said earlier 3 miles is the farthest.
It depends on your eye.
There's
your
only
eye- your eye-
There's only one side making whole
Fraction.
Earth claims, Brian. Right? The government claims exactly what the Earth is,
Show me
exactly
a
what it
picture.
looks like. They claim they go to
Wait.
space. They're making the whole Earth.
Remember-
claim. We want
remember-
whole Earth pictures. That's
Remember,
right.
Jaron said, put yourself in a room, make it 10 miles wide with a 10-foot high ceiling. Could you take a picture of that whole room? No, you couldn't, because a half a mile away, the ceiling would touch the floor. Okay, so you can only take pictures of parts of it.
The perspective equation says otherwise.
Oh,
Actually,
boy.
it doesn't ever.
What?
What? I was at the Bellagio in Vegas, and the
That's-
lights
But
were
Dave,
touching
the
the floor
equations
at
don't
the
say
other
that.
end of the.
No, the
The
equations don't
lights
say
were
that.
touching the floor at the other end of the hallway.
Not according to my math, they weren't.
That's not about that. You're just.
It's
taking
perspective.
You're taking one example. We
Those
don't-
damn
Not
flat
one
earthers love
example. It's
perspective.
what
You don't
everybody
even know if
sees
the floor
every
is-
day,
the floor is-
every
but
bit
that
of.
doesn't prove anything. That's inside of one place, and you're saying that.
That's where we
proves that-
live.
Right. Here's my final statement. It's okay to have your entire life destroyed with new information, because then you have a whole new life.
This is-
All right.
Again, your whole foundation
off facts.
is based on the electric theory of gravity. Is absolutely
Oh, that's our whole
wrong.
thing. Yeah.
That's our whole thing. You know what?
One of the
Well,
things, bro.
But without
Yeah.
that,
And
everything
that proves
falls apart.
curvature. Good job.
But your entire world is set that an atom at the very center of the earth says, I'm the center. Everyone come to me. But the atom that's halfway between the center and halfway between the center and the surface,
That's
he goes, no,
equilibrium.
I am the center. Everybody come to me. And then they fight it out, and the guy at the middle always wins.
No, Dave, that's how equilibrium is established.
That's
when
how
you have-
equal. How does gas turn into a gravitational
Well,
ball and leave a void in between? Okay, how does that happen?
It's an energy density. It's not
Energy density. Damn it! I
You
should have
should
looked
have known
into
that, man.
Well, it is.
I
It's a
should have
math-
looked into that.
That's how relativity explains.
So
it. Mass
nothing
energy
exploded, became everything. All the rocks stuck together, and all the gases turned into
What was
giant
it,
balls,
Dave?
and they left a void in between. And somehow they hold on to each other, and they ignore the 3-body problem. They go into the 100 billion body not problem,
Oh, I-
and they repeat every year.
Wow, that was actually one of the funniest rants I've ever seen from David White. I mean, that was pretty good. That was pretty funny. That was pretty funny, I gotta say.
Everything
Three-body
repeats.
problem.
The eclipses repeat every 18
I
years.
understand chaos theory, by the way. The 3-body problem. You know what the prediction, the predictability horizon is within the 3-body problem within.
My question is,
Oh,
how
right.
do all of these planets and stars and everything maintain perfect order like a clock?
Okay, let me counter that with the same question for you. Where in the world is the pond? What's around it? What's beneath it?
We're not allowed to go
I
there.
don't know. We're
Brian.
not allowed to go there.
But you got, and that's just, it's all.
What's at the end
conjecture.
of your universe that's
At least
expanding
I know
faster than
we
the
don't
speed of
have
light?
listen, we had a conversation before. You kind of know my views as a more spiritual view of everything. But this physical universe, we don't have. So there's a lot of.
Let me ask you a question. What makes
There's a
more
lot of-
sense?
there's
What
a
makes
lot
more
of
sense?
mysteries.
That we're on a non-moving level plane, like every observation, tells us, and that we're not allowed to explore the outer land, so we don't know, or we live in this heliocentric space void that's expanding faster than the speed of light into nothingness. Okay?
But the Hubble model is not perfect. I agree. There's a lot of things not known. But
Not perfect.
But you guys don't have anything. But you guys don't have anything.
Yeah, we were lied to as children.
Dude, you're
brought
like
up with
bragging about the
lies.
fact that
know,
the
but-
world's countries got together and said we can't go past the 60th south latitude. You're like, you guys don't even know what's past. Yeah, the world's governments are working together, Brian. You didn't know that?
Hey,
You know the Antarctic Treaty. I've read it actually, and it doesn't say
Brian.
that we can go there.
Wow. So is Brian admitting here that there's a fundamental deficiency in basic first grade English comprehension? Because he claims to have read all these things, looked at these things, watched these, but nothing was processed. So are they just really ganging up on this poor guy with a mental disability? And if so, that's kind of messed up. I mean, that's kind of messed up, I gotta say.
There's two things that all of the major governments in the world agree upon. Can't go to Antarctica because we have to protect the ice and the penguins, and everyone needs to get a shot in the arm.
Wait, what about wearing a mask?
They
Everybody has to wear a mask.
agree on those two things. They agree on the boogeyman thing, and they agree on Antarctica. That tells you something. That should tell you something.
I know, but the Antarctica, people go there all the time.
No, but they go there.
privately.
There's 100 companies, all run by the same guy. There are a whole bunch of shell companies.
I mean, one of
It's
my-
out of most people's price range, and you barely get off the ship.
Yeah,
And
you
if they
can't
did,
privately go.
even if they let you go, how far are you going to go? You're going to walk 100 miles and come back?
Mm.
You're still on the ice shelf.
But the Antarctic Treaty doesn't prohibit people from going there. It prohibits dumping, prohibits
It
nuclear
prohibits-
testing.
No,
We have to turn in a
Exploration.
report.
And-
We'd have to turn in a
can't
report.
Exploration is forbidden. You have
It
to
is
be
not on the Antarctic
approved.
Treaty,
You have to
though.
go
Absolutely
Okay,
is.
then
Explore
Brian,
objectively.
book something to go explore Antarctica. Tell me how the process works. Once you get denied, we can have that conversation because you don't know what you're talking about. You've
No, I
never
do know
tried
what
to
I'm
go to
talking about.
Antarctica and explore,
People
Brian.
go there all
You've
the
never
time.
tried to
Yeah,
do
they
that.
go on
Have
a
you
cruise
tried to
ship.
go there and explore?
They spend
Have
$30,000
you?
bucks to
I
go to
don't
the
have
edge.
I don't want. Have you been there to explore?
We
Brian,
can't go
My
there.
wife's
Have you
grandparents
tried?
Hear what
were
we're
for 30
saying?
grand,
I
and they didn't get off the
understand,
boat,
but-
bro.
We have
They didn't get off
friends
the
that have
boat.
gone.
Why
Brian,
don't you try to book
Brian-
one of those Antarctic?
Brian, I'll tell you what. We've done all the work for you. One of our flat earther guys, who's a lawyer, put all of the information together in a 30-minute video. It's in the app under the Antarctica button on the FAQ page. Hit it. It's called "Why Is Antarctica's Closed." Watch that. He did all the work for you. It would take you 6 months to get this amount of research. He did it in 30 minutes for you. Watch that and then go double check it. Go
And then
verify it.
I found out
because
that
there's papers on all of it.
all the cruise ships are all
Documents.
owned by the same
Documents.
The
person.
other thing that's a problem is
Yeah.
that with these high altitude.
Did you hear what Jaron said?
What did you
Nice,
say? Let
nice,
Jaren
nice.
say something again. What was that?
I just said all the cruise ships, or most of the cruise ships that go down to Antarctica, are all owned by the same guy, and he's the guy that Obama put in charge of NOAA back whatever that was, 10, 20 years ago.
I'd like to fact check that.
Okay.
I'll look at.
Please do.
You got a lot to fact check. You might want to come back and watch this video again and then remember all the stuff that you want to
But one
fact check.
thing I
'cause We're
don't
not
need to
lying
fact
to you.
check-
Spinras,
No,
Nina
We're on your
Spinras,
team, bro.
Spinras,
I
I
know,
think is
but
her
the
name.
electric. You just go back to the drawing board with the electric, because that doesn't work.
It's really electric forces that hold our world together.
I mean,
You're obsessed with that,
probably.
man. It's
I'm
because it's because
obsessed with it because every.
It's the only thing that you have because
not the only
you
thing
can
I have.
argue it all day long.
We've explained everything else.
he didn't
We
argue it
just-
actually. He got
Gravity
I
just
mean,
annihilates the flat Earth. That's the problem. Why you guys have.
The gravity.
Oh,
Gravity.
It's
There is no
gravity.
ball without gravity. It's a hypocritical
exactly.
statement.
That's the
bro.
only proof for gravity is that it has to exist if the Earth's a ball.
It's
That's
not a proof,
why-
it's something that we can actually know. I explained to you the difference between a law and a theory. Laws are things we can use to actually get calculations, make predictions, then we can get things that we can then make. Then we can use that to make things in this world.
It's really electric forces that hold our world together.
Great.
If there was an applied science of flat Earth, nothing would be getting made. There'd be no innovation.
Oh boy.
What do you guys?
So we would have
I
never
don't
figured out
think
that things fell 9.8 meters per second squared if the Earth was flat. We wouldn't have figured it
you can.
out.
It was
yeah,
predicted
you're-
before Newton.
You're just rebrand. I know, but you're just rebranding gravity.
He just goes into the defense mechanism of hallucinating and pretending that rebranding somehow invalidates what was just said. As if, well, it's also psychological projection because what he's saying is rebranding the previous ideas. And he's pretending that they're doing, again, classic psychological projection.
Yeah, into a true model, not the fake one that's telling everybody we're spinning and flying through space.
Newton didn't even offer a mechanism for gravity. He said, do not ever attribute that to me, because any man with competent faculty of thinking in philosophical matters could never fall into the absurdity of thinking that it could be something.
Hey, what if when that apple fell, some kid let go of a helium balloon? What would have Newton come up with?
The helium balloon is actually just the gravity pulling the atmosphere down hard. Well, Dave, you know.
I mean, what would he have come up with gravity?
Wait, Brian, what would happen if Newton saw the apple land in water and it just floated there?
And the helium balloon went up.
Mess everything up for him.
The same thing would have happened, actually. But you know, Dave,
another fake story, guys. Another fake story never happened.
1666 with 666 Newtons. Oh my God, bro! You think that's a coincidence?
But you guys have all these great little stories. It's pretty nice. It's like a religion almost.
Listen.
They're cute. They're cute stories.
They're cute.
If you get a helium balloon and then you're in a car and you slam on the brakes, which direction does the helium balloon go?
It goes to the. We've seen this before. We saw the guy from Smarter Every Day do it, but it made sense why I did, because the air gets pushed forward, so it goes back. Wait, I'm trying to.
Well, the air. It's all about, again, because the atmosphere. The reason the helium balloon rises up is because the atmosphere is pulling down the denser air below it and it pushes it up.
Oh, you mean it has an electric gradient?
Wait,
yeah, the electric gradient.
But where is it pulling?
Welcome to flat Earth, Brian.
We can measure the electric field, guys, at higher altitudes.
Wait, hold on. If I'm holding I'm holding a helium balloon. Hold on, Brian. I'm holding a helium balloon. I'm holding a helium balloon on a string.
Doesn't matter a lot.
And I let it go. What are you saying, that the Earth is pulling the gravity, the air from where?
No, yes. So the air is more dense than helium, right? You know.
Thank
that,
you.
Right?
Yes.
Okay, so the air that's displaced by so the amount of air that was in where the helium balloon is. So you got a helium balloon right here. Right?
Yes.
Density.
So that air inside that's getting displaced is denser than the helium. So that's Archimedes, idea. So it's
what happened to gravity?
Brian sounds like a flat earther right now, because that's the arguments they use.
Well, gravity's pulling the atmosphere down. That's what creates the pressure.
But pulling what atmosphere down? The balloon's there.
The atmosphere we live in. It's the gravitational force.
No, I'm talking about the balloon. Why is the balloon not going down? Why are the clouds not going down? These are questions that you can't answer.
The balloon will go up to where it gets to its same density as the air, and it will stop.
No. You think that the clouds with the down
balloon doesn't keep going up,
with
guys.
trillions of tons of water?
It pops.
Yeah, are they lighter than balloons?
It doesn't stop. It pops.
Wait,
you ever been clouds? Like, have you ever been in a downpour, like a heavy deluge downpour? Where's all that water? Why is it floating up there?
Clouds
Can you explain it?
Okay, clouds are mysterious. I'm not going to try to explain something I don't.
They're not mysterious. We know what they're doing.
We know what they're doing.
But you don't have any. Your answer is electrostatic.
That's the actual answer. Why don't you look it up?
It doesn't work.
Electrostatic doesn't work. All right. We're on the same thing.
I mean, he's just like this religious regurgitation, arguing against blasphemy, trying to convince himself that it doesn't work. I mean, just from the expressions and everything, he's trying to convince himself that it couldn't work in order to justify his blind faith in his cult.
All right, guys.
Brian, just say you have a final statement.
You even agreed to me that it varies wildly, and somehow it still
doesn't matter. Just
funny. I'm looking up electrostatics, and it says right here, the presence of surface charge imbalance means that objects will exhibit attractive and repulsive forces. It says right there.
During a lightning storm, the electric field switches polarity. You know that, right?
Why are you getting? It doesn't matter. It sets you up and
yes,
down.
Yes, it does. You just said it sets up and down.
He doesn't understand what that means, Austin. That's all.
I guess not, dude.
He doesn't understand what I'm saying.
You said the clouds weren't held together by electrostatics, man. I think it might be time to call it a night, bro. It might be time to call it a night, bro.
No, during an electrical storm, the polarity reverses and it increases by like 10,000 fold. So you're saying that electrostatics defines the direction of gravity. How can it reverse
gravity
like that? Gravity
doesn't exist. What do you?
It's always down. Well,
gravity is incoherent dielectric acceleration. I'll send you some stuff. All right, I'll send you some stuff, and you can read it, or you can not read it. I don't know.
Answer this one thing.
Answer this.
How, if the electrostatic field is given the direction to why things fall, how is it that during a thunderstorm the electric field switches from positive to negative and increases? Why don't things start floating up during an electrical storm?
You just get dielectric pulses, dielectric discharges towards technically counter space.
Now,
and you think the entire electric gradient on the Earth flips over? Is that what you think?
It provably does during a lightning storm.
The whole entire Earth's electric gradient flips upside down. That's what you think?
From the clouds to the ground.
Austin just easily answered that question, and this goof is just spiraling out of control. Just trying to grasp desperately at anything just to make himself sound not like a complete and utter fool like he's been sounding like this whole time.
Say lightning bolt for a split second.
Yeah,
that's it.
The dielectric discharge.
It doesn't matter. There's no variations like that with gravity, or 9.8 meters per second.
But why is he using the First of all, there are variations. Second of all, why is he using parameters which are not being claimed? Again, it all comes back to somebody trying to prove God using the Bible. But if somebody doesn't believe in the Bible, why do you keep using the passages of the Bible as your proofs? And Bryant doesn't have the modicum of mental wherewithal that even small children have to understand this very basic point.
9.8 meters per second stays the
That's
same.
an average. It doesn't stay the same. How do you keep saying
He
that?
doesn't understand it.
And wait, have you ever gotten a scale and then stood exactly where lightning struck and to see if the weight on the scale changed? Have you ever done that? I don't think anyone's ever done that.
Well,
Okay.
I don't think that's going to show much.
You can make things float with electrostatics, bro. Come on.
Yes.
But again, electrostatic field of the Earth stops.
We're back.
I know, but
Yeah, this is go on forever, bro.
It's 1:15 in the morning.
I gotta get out of. Yeah, I mean,
we gotta wrap it up.
We'll talk to him
it's
about
so
it
obvious,
for 5
and
hours.
you're denying the obvious. I mean, you're saying
Listen,
like
This actually hurts
self-project on
worse
me,
than
bro.
my
Come
broken
on now.
tooth.
Brian,
This is really great.
Brian, we all love you, by the way. We all love
We do
you.
love you.
Very nice.
We feel
man.
bad for
Appreciate-
you.
Listen, go back, listen to this. All the
Nonsense.
things that you said you're going to look into
I
it.
will.
If you need us to send you any documents, we'll send you some. Witsit, I'll give him your email. He'll send you some
I
stuff.
want to see how electrostatics can give a uniform, at the surface of the Earth, a uniform 9.8 meters per second, when we know it varies wildly and it reverses
Okay.
clarity,
All right.
which means you
Cool.
got to explain.
He'll get it over to you.
why it
He'll
goes
get it over
We'll
to
get
you.
it over to you.
I got you.
And then,
Yeah. Go sub to my channel too.
You won't
welcome
be
to
able
Flat
to,
Earth.
but good luck trying. Yeah.
Notice that there is a clear parallel with gravity. Newton's law of gravity, that the force, which in that case is always attracting, gravity never repels, is the product of two masses. And then you have here the gravitational constant, and again you have the distance square. So there is an enormous parallel between the two. It's a great beauty that electricity acts in a way that is very parallel to the way that gravity works. If you compare electricity with gravity, you will see that electric forces are way more powerful than gravitational forces. If now I compare the electric force with the gravitational force, so I divide one by the other, notice that the d cancels. They both have d squared downstairs. And so you will easily be able to show that this ratio is roughly 10 to the 36. So the electric force is 36 orders of magnitude more potent than the gravitational attraction. This teaches you some respect, perhaps, for 802. If these were the only forces that acted on the protons, and you bring them in the nucleus, which has a size of only 10 to the minus 12 centimeters, then the acceleration that the proton will experience is the electric force divided by the mass of the proton, F equals ma, basis of 801. And if you take this electric force, when you make d 10 to the minus 12 centimeters, which is 10 to the minus 14 meters, and you calculate this ratio, you will find that it is 26 orders of magnitude higher than the gravitational acceleration on Earth. 26 orders of magnitude higher. So you wonder what the hell holds the nucleus together? If there is such a tremendous force on these protons. Well, what is holding them together are the nuclear forces, which we do not fully understand, but thank goodness the nuclear forces are not part of 802, so I'll leave that alone for now. So what holds our world together? Well, on the nuclear scale, 10 to the minus 12 centimeters, very important are the nuclear forces. On an atomic scale, up to thousands of kilometers, it's really electric forces that hold our world together.
We'll
All
get
right.
it over to you. No worries.
I'll send you some stuff. Bro.
Thank you. And
All right, well.
All right, let's say our goodbye. All right. So it was nice. Thank you for coming in. And I know
this
it
is
did.
kind of what I was worried about.
I know
mean,
4-on-1 was not kind. Or
wait a minute. Hold on a second. I think we were very good to you.
Yeah, we were. We
No,
didn't call you
it's
names.
not that you were not bad. It's not that you were. I just didn't want to talk to Austin. I wanted to talk to
Nobody wants to talk to Austin when it comes to this
Well, but
stuff.
he's not listening. He's got his strong idea of electric.
But you don't. You really don't have any strong ideas that are
I do, but
overwhelming.
I can prove easily that the electric field varies wildly.
Man, this guy's still obsessing over it. He can't let it go. He's this triggered. They stopped talking about that as the main subject over an hour ago. He just keeps coming back to it.
It's so simple to prove this.
So simple that he can't do it.
Okay, but he didn't say that doesn't have anything to
But
do
we're
with the
not saying
thought-
that
the theory.
that matters.
When it switches polarity, it does. You're saying that
For a
gives
split
the-
second with the dielectric discharge for the millionth time.
Again, but it's just, that means gravity would have to have an impulse that you can measure, and it doesn't. For the
No,
Gravity has nothing.
You're missing
the
the
whole
point.
electric gradient doesn't flip on the whole Earth.
No,
dude.
actually, during an electric storm, that potential reverses for quite some time. But the lightning is a split second. You're right.
It
So
doesn't
you're
flip
gonna-
across the whole Earth.
and
my
people
guy.
He
don't
said you're
rely
right.
on
Just
the
move
air.
on from there. Let's just
All
go.
right, whatever.
You said you're right.
It doesn't work, guys. Absolutely doesn't work.
All right, man. Earth
Neither
must
does
be
curvature.
involved.
Trying to convince himself more than he's trying to convince them, which you could see written all over his face.
Sure,
He
but
said
you know,
no.
agree to
Well,
disagree.
we can talk. I'm just saying that's one thing that's just very easy to debunk.
I know. The spinning of the Earth doesn't work. Neither does the
It
lack of
doesn't work. I
curvature.
mean,
Yeah, it just doesn't
It works.
exist.
It
but
works.
Brian, you did say there were some things that you should look into. Please do.
I will. I will send you. You got my email, so
All right, man.
And I'm-
Thanks for coming.
just send me
Yes.
the most convincing ones.
Okay,
Which ones
wait.
are
I sent you in the
most
chat.
important?
Do you see in the chat before you go away? There's a couple things I put in there.
Hit the chat button.
You
in your
wanted to
Zoom.
know where the cosmologist faked the LIGO. That's the second link there.
He doesn't want to say that.
And then
No,
the
I'll
one.
look at no. I
Well, he
can
just
look
said
at-
it didn't happen. He didn't
So
believe
go
it,
in the
but-
chat before you exit.
Yeah, before-
But we
and
already
grab
know what
that
these guys will
link.
do. He'll come back and he'll be like, "Oh no, but they faked it on purpose." Like, yeah, that's what we're saying.
Yeah.
But no, but they
right.
did it. They did it
I'm
to
not gonna-
test their
I'm not gonna-
systems. You know.
You're
It's like,
okay, you're saying that, but let me look at it. Okay, I'll look at it.
okay, and then the one below that is
Fair
the British Navy never existed. It's
Okay,
a
then,
dumb
okay,
thought.
listen,
PDFs in
I'll
here or
concede
not?
that. I'll concede that one, but it
Okay.
doesn't mean that Coriolis.
Just get his
wasn't
email,
real.
Austin.
All right.
What's weird is that that's the only point he officially conceded. So is he basically just admitting to himself? Because the other things, let's say he spent more than 1 second. So he probably just saw like an anti-flat Earth meme about that and actually read 0 seconds of anything about it. So he conceded it. But that exposes him even further on why he would bring it up in the first place if he actually doesn't know anything about it. Not that he knows anything about anything, but his ego kind of hallucinates that if he spent more than a few hours on something, that somehow that means he understands it. Obviously, it clearly doesn't. But he hallucinates it does to protect that ego. So does him conceding this point mean that he actually spent 0 time on it? He just took it on blind faith. And the fact that he would do so in the first place and bring up that point, that also exposes him and further tells you everything you need to know about Bryant Meyers and his anti-science position.
I got it. I got it for you.
Yeah.
All right. Let me
All right,
check
listen.
super chats real quick. I just want to say thank you to those people who did that.
Brian, take a nice breath. You did a great job.
1,073
And
people listening. We got to keep going. People like the,
I-
good prize. It's my best show ever.
We went 4 hours and 15 minutes, so we're good.
Time flies when you're in a.
When you're having fun, time flies.
Yeah, we're
Come
all having
on.
fun. Come on, man.
Time dilates and then
Good
slows
time.
down.
Let's just don't, Austin. No more talking.
We should get McToon here. See what he thinks, though. I think we
Yeah,
gotta get
that would be fun.
Bob the science guy. We got to get him on. He'll tell.
Yeah,
us.
not gonna happen.
Well, yeah. At least listen. At least next time if we do this ever again, at least get one other. Let me have at least one other person. That's
Get as many as you want.
Absolutely, bring them
Completely
on.
fine.
Bring them
That
on. The
doesn't
more the
bother
merrier.
us at all. We weren't trying to bother you.
We
with
wanna
that,
have
but it doesn't
a-
bother us.
because
A
this is
fully
not-
rounded conversation. So if you got somebody that can explain it better, bring them.
Sure.
Bring all the credentials you can find, ideally.
Yeah.
Bring
right,
some
let's have
college
a-
professors,
and-
whatever you like.
But listen, for Globers out there and flat earthers, this is how you have a conversation. We had fun. We got a little heated. And that's it. We didn't call each other names.
That part was.
Let's
right.
hope. Let's hope that nobody in the super chats did, because
You know what? I was watching the chat. People were pretty good.
All right.
Few people got frustrated out there, but
Brian, I swore once, and I'm just apologizing for it, Brian. I did swear once, I'm sorry about that.
I said I was going to cut my wrists in the chat, so I apologize for that.
We did.
I really wasn't going to do that, but I did say that.
Oh, that's great.
I'm sorry if you got mad at me, bro. It's all
It's impossible. Electrostatic's impossible.
I spent several days actually deconstructing the whole electromagnetism. And I'm telling you, it doesn't work.
Austin.
It's really electric forces that hold our world together.
And after all that time, all he has is, it doesn't work. That's all he has is pretending it's easily debunked doesn't work. And he keeps coming, and look, he's coming back to it again. That's how triggered this poor guy is. I mean, his mental breakdown is complete here.
It's not that I hate Austin, it's just that you can't describe why things
you hate his beard?
With 9.8 seconds squared.
Right, so when you can't explain something, then you look into it. You don't just dismiss it. Oh, I can't explain it. It's gone. I mean, imagine if everybody did that.
If it's the electric field, we know we have all kinds of, you can measure
Austin, you're banned next time.
Yeah.
It's not
Dude, I said we'll talk about it later, brother.
Austin, banned.
It doesnn't work.
All right, let me read.
It's really electric forces that hold our world together.
Hey, Brian, we love you, man. We thank you for doing this. Really.
Thanks for coming, and we'll continue the conversation.
You can leave if you want. I'm just going to read the super chats.
All right, I'm going to let you go.
Maybe we could do it again in the future, Brian. Why don't you look at a couple of these doors we showed you and see if you can walk through them?
But it's impossible.
I'm not going to do it on this type of form again, though.
Okay, we're sorry.
Sure, no worries. Understandable.
Hey, I'll let you come on my show and we can talk about electricity.
He'll be on tomorrow.
Yeah.
Dave, would you go on the show with Professor Dave, Simon Dan?
What?
No, I don't talk to those.
Look at the way those guys. Come on, hold on. You can't compare us to them.
No,
that's rude. Yeah, that's kind of rude.
That's rude. We didn't call you names.
No, I didn't.
Brian, you got to watch the fallacy breakdown of Professor Dave and I. Did you watch that video yet? I'm gonna send it to you.
275 to 5.
If they acted with manners, if somehow they act with manners,
that'll never
He got
happen.
275 fallacies to my 15 telling him.
Brian,
not
here's
to be
the
a dick.
difference. The difference between us is we can have a conversation and we actually attack your real arguments. We don't make straw men. Those guys just attack our character. They call us names and they build straw men. And
I don't like that either.
Okay, well, that's what they do.
Well, actually, Bryant set a record amount of straw man fouls. I mean, not ad homs. He only had a couple ad homs where he called the everything about electricity nonsense because obviously he was so triggered by that. But and maybe one or two other times. But regarding the straw man, I mean, all Bryant did mostly was straw man. He pretended that these other positions were being brought forth that weren't in his triggered state. Now, maybe he didn't do that intentionally because of his mental breakdown, his mental deficiencies, but yeah, I mean, not a good look for Bryant. They're definitely giving him too much credit here, but hopefully he'll watch this breakdown as well.
So don't compare us to them.
That's why
we don't like that either. We
have
have
that conversation.
That's why we like you.
I was turned off by Professor Dave the way he.
Well, he's not a professor either, so.
Listen, he's not a real professor.
Does that bother you? Does that bother you?
He did teach chemistry, actually.
While we're at it, we'll just point out Professor Dave is clearly scared to debate me and only wants to debate me on an unfair platform. Just want to throw that out there.
So that he can berate you.
Yeah, I mean,
all right, you can. Upside Down Guy says you can confine and raise a kid to believe anything. If confined enough, you can show and tell them dragons are real, and they will come and eat them, and they will misbehave. Sorry, I don't know what that is. Yeah. Sacred Knowledge says belief is something you do when you lack info necessary to know. We don't believe. We know it can't be a ball because we measured it. Globers believe. Okay, thank you. Awareverse, thank you very much for the $2. Eric H says Bryant is just gonna tie his own self into a knot. This is great. THC says smoke some more indoctrination, Bryant. Come on, be nice, guys.
Come on.
Hey, I'm not. Hey, Dave. He didn't hear a conversation before the call. So.
Yeah, he's got a little bit. He's kind of on our side and on everything, but of course
on everything but these two topics, which is
I'm wide awake when it comes to that.
Well,
I mean, indoctrinated goofs always think they're not indoctrinated. I mean, that is a common theme there.
Well, you think photons are real, though, so I don't agree with you on that.
Again, whatever you want to call them, we can use them to model what happens in reality.
Okay.
You guys are hung up on names. We can, I mean...
The difference between
quantum mechanics is based on all the computers that we're using right now are based on photons.
They're hung up on names while he has all these mental gymnastics with rebranding, and because he's so triggered by the names, rebranding, exposing his cult. He's the one. I mean, his psychological projection is pretty accurate. I do have to give him that.
Whether you want to call them photons or not, I mean,
All right.
Brian, you're don't compare yourself to those guys that you just mentioned, because you actually believe what you're saying, and that's fine. Those guys don't believe what they're saying. They know that they're scamming, and they do what all psychopaths do. They just call other people exactly what they are, right? It's amazing.
So
thank
you.
Totally turned out. Yeah, I'm totally
406 findings and Reggie P56 and Paraplegic Bear and Homie the Handyman. Thank you guys for the super chats. All right, it's good. Now we can go.
All right. That is all, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Guys, do your own research. When you do, you'll never again believe like Bryant does. Till next time, Jeranism. Peace.
So there you have it, Mind Shockers. We have a new champion. Bryant Meyers, champion of Dunning-Kruger, champion of narcissism, and champion of logical fallacies in flat earth debate thus far. This man has committed more logical fallacies by the largest margin imaginable than any other debate thus far covered on MindShock and any other flat earth debate I've ever seen on any platform. When I started doing this analysis, I definitely did not think this would be going into 4 digits. No matter how clueless a goof, even so-called Professor Dave, one of the most clueless Dunning-Kruger narcissistic goofs of all time, didn't even rack up this many fallacies. And Bryant Meyers, most of these fallacies aren't even ad homs, which is what's impressive. He's definitely committed some ad homs when he got extremely triggered. I don't know, maybe 10, 20... 30 at most, but we're looking at about 1,000 non-ad hominem logical fallacies. This is impressive stuff. Bryant Meyers was pretty diverse with his logical fallacies in his complete mental breakdown at having his religion questioned. And we had high hopes for Meyers. He's very credentialed, he's very polite, or at least he was at the beginning, so that led many to believe that he would be able to mount some kind of defense for the heliocentric globe model, but he brought nothing to the table. Absolutely nothing other than these Dunning-Kruger stylings and extreme triggering to the point of just extreme psychological protection, outright denial, and just these religious faith-based appeals where it sounded more like he was trying to convince himself than the other guys he was talking to. Very, very embarrassing showing. I've actually never seen anybody get humiliated to this level, even within a flat earth debate. So I genuinely feel for this poor guy. I really feel bad for this guy. He might have some kind of mental disability just from what he's shown here. So, yeah, it's just a sad state of affairs here, a very sad state of affairs. This was really difficult to get through, so again, I hope all the MindShock listeners out there appreciate the amount of work and effort it took to logically break down this so-called flat earth debate or flat earth discussion where this man, this priest of scientism, just got utterly decimated to a level we've never seen before. And I'm sure I've missed a bunch of fallacies too from all these guys. I'm sure the other guys committed fallacies that I might have missed too. And I was actually hoping that Bryant Meyers would at least get one zinger in there. I was rooting for the guy for the past few hours. I was hoping he'd get at least one zinger on these guys, but alas, no. It was just complete and utter thrashing of this so-called intellectual. But yeah, it definitely serves as a very good educational tool to see the failure of goofs like Bryant to bring any kind of science or logic to the table, and only their scientism masquerading as legitimate science, but of course no logic, no reason, no adherence to the scientific method to be found here. So that's it for now. On to the next one. Hope everybody enjoyed another edition of the MindShock podcast. If you want to help support the podcast, help us get more logical analyses out there in all different types of topics, and bring logic and reason back to a world where it is quickly going extinct, which Bryant Meyers perfectly illustrated, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. You can also become a YouTube member right here on YouTube. Help support the channel that way. Make sure to subscribe, like, and share. Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, Patreon. Questions, comments, theories, thoughts, suggestions, rebuttals, debunkings of any kind, leave them in the comment section. This is Bruce McGuire signing out. Catch you guys